Yeah, Hanif is doing online as well because we have other students who are not here, and they wanted to be present as well, right? So we have student. Some of my students are here. You can see that, right? Hanchen, Kai Lai. Oh, Chang, your name is Elvin. Chang.
That's my Facebook name, yeah.
Huh? Oh, God. How's
So,
North Korea?
yeah.
Still, as usual, stealing Wi-Fi from South Korea.
Okay. Samir Qatar. Samir, you're Qatar, right? You're Qatar or Jordan? Right, okay. And then,
Good morning, bro. How are you?
morning. Not morning, it's afternoon here, Samir.
Good morning, because sorry.
Yeah.
Because now I am wake up. How are you, bro?
Yeah?
Week out.
You just woke up. Okay, good. Just don't forget to brush your teeth and all.
No, I'm drinking coffee already.
Okay. And Amariza, and my brother there, my abang, my big brother. That's why we have this
Yeah.
last name there, right? Right. Okay. So for now that Hanif is ready, right? Hanif, you ready with the PowerPoint? Okay. So today Muntari will be presenting his work, his progress, his findings, right? And thank you so much, Dr. Azmir, and Dr. Febri. They'll be the evaluators. So you're given 20 minutes plus minus, and then we have a Q&A session, and we get feedback, comments from Dr. Febri and Dr. Azmir, and then we will open for the rest. If you have questions, queries, or comments, or other suggestions, please feel free to share your ideas as well, your thoughts as well. All right. And after that, at 3:30, right? The 3:30 session is a group supervision kind of thing,
Okay.
where we have Hanif will be presenting his research proposal, but this is the in-group supervision, so it's not, you need to evaluate, right? But you're welcome to sit in and listen, or you want to go elsewhere, it's fine too. Today there's good durian sales, and yeah, the Musang King's price has gone down to 35 ringgit so per kilo.
Really?
35 ringgit per kilo. Sungai Ara. Yeah. But yesterday, Baskin Robbins 31% off. But today is first.
Oh, the 31st.
31st, right? Yeah.
Okay.
It is commercial announcement.
31% off.
31% off.
Commercial announcement. Okay, Mutadi, the floor is yours.
Okay.
Bismillah.
Bismillah.
Yeah.
First of all, I want to thank my supervisor because he patient with me. Different language. First, I've come here. My language is very bad. He just patient with me about that, and also he gave me a lot of information and experience about a new project here in Malaysia, especially in Cinebreast and USM. Thank you for examiner for your time. Thank you, my friends, coming here. So this is my research title. So now today I will give my research progress. This is the research title: the phenomena of paternalism, the contestation within political modernity of Shiite Iraq. So under the supervision of Dr. Muhammad Rabani Bistami. So you can go to the next slide, please. So this is a table expose the problem statement, research questions, research objectives. So I can summarize the problem statement here. So we have academic problem because there is no study to highlight about the structure of Shia in Iraq as the paternalism. We had paternalism in two ways. The first one, the religious leader in Iraq, or in the Shia, they call this Ayatollah, so they are paternalism, and also the paternal social class, because the culture of Shia also they think in this way. So we go to the second one, is the problem, social problem is this paternalism or the culture of paternalism of Ayatollah. They have station with political modernity in Iraq from the 19th century to the present. So I want to highlight about this problem statement. I go to the research questions. So what is the key changes through the different period in Iraqi Shia history, the best advanced paternalism, what the different generative mechanism at work in each of this period, also what is the process that manifested in connection with each of these generative mechanism. Objectives is an investigation for this research question. So you can go to the next slide, please. So this is my methodology. So I use the quantitative methodology, both use this strategy, retrospective research strategy, and historical method, data collection. I have 4 data collection because I deal with the history. I go to the historical sources, document related with the manuscript, report, or statement issued by Ayatollah, because Ayatollah deal with the people, deal with his followers by statements or question and answer, but also observation from the social influencer. They observed the history events, and also by myself. Also social media as interview or some newspaper or like this. So data analysis, we have 4: exploratory, description, identification, retroduction, according to the retroductive research strategy. You can go to the next slide, please. So this is the methodology I used here. So we have retroductive research strategy depend on three overlapping domains. So they start to explore the real mechanism for the social phenomena. The real mechanism, they occur the actual events, and actual event is the data result for the empirical. So here we have historical method. We have the three ways to work in this is method: observation and events, critical evaluation and synthesis, and explanation or interpretation of the past. So the related between this both methods. So this is retrospective give methodology to the historical, and historical method give ontology to this is retrospective. So both method, observation, events, work to develop an explanation or interpretation of the past, but we are different. So the historical investigate the past events and culture through primary and secondary sources, while retrospective research strategies reveal generative mechanism. So both of them work together. Go to the next slide, please. So according to my work, to my findings, how can I say that? I reveal this is diagram. So if retrospective research strategy work with historical resource, historical method together, from this time to another time, we will find this is diagram. So the 3 overlapping domains to retrospective: empirical, event, actual. This is historical period. So, for example, in the 19th century, we observed mechanism. They lead to the events, and events lead to the empirical. But after 20 years or 3 years, the empirical will become mechanism to give or to lead to the new events, and the new events give empirical, and also over time the empirical will become mechanism, and so on. So here, for example, applying the retrospective research strategy with historical method lead to the conversion of the empirical result into real mechanism over time. This mechanism in turn generated a new actual event and subsequently build a new empirical data. This is cyclical process is akin to several movement like this. Not cycle, but several movement. Go to the spiral. Okay. So this is conceptual contribution. So if you go to the paternalism, according to the literature, what's the mean? If the person or organization or government restrict the freedom, people freedom, or take decision behalf of them for their own good. For this reason, paternalism is mercy and kindness and benevolence, right? Yeah. So, but sometimes take action if they have authority, and also sometimes discourse. For example, the religious leader, he don't have authority, about political authority, but can discourse. He used the word. This word has appeared like paternalism over the people. So if you go to Ayatollah here, Ayatollah paternalism, Ayatollah means like a monk, like a sheikh, like a pope, like pastor for Shia denomination. So Ayatollah use restriction if have political power or intervention if have just religious authority to restrict other freedom or take decision sometime or lead them to good way. So he used taqlid. So if you go action, he used taqlid. Taqlid means emulation. So people follow Ayatollah and Ayatollah guide them to the good way. Ayatollah used discourse for them always, and he take decision if he has a political power. So both of them, they use normative. Normative means if the paternalism try to control your freedom, should be give you justification, logic, why they use restrict you. Just give a justification for your own good. So both of them use about liberty or obligation. Paternalism restrict your freedom. This means there is argument between paternalism and liberalism. Which better for the people and for the person? So Ayatollah also use obligation. Should be every person, he adult and sin should be emulate Ayatollah. This is obligation. So both of them have argument with liberalism. We have hard paternalism, hard. So we have soft paternalism and hard paternalism. Soft paternalism, they related with the children, related with the insane people, crazy people, and related with the drinker. This is soft paternalism. Hard paternalism, this is related with the continent, the adult and the same. So taqlid, the condition of taqlid should related with the adult and sane people. So not related with a child or insane. So both of them, they work with hard paternalism. Agent, wakil. So paternalism, for example, the government is the agent of people, the doctor is agent of patient, the organization, the agent of workers. So paternalism here, the agent of theology. So he can, what is the difference? Here, the agent of paternalism, the people give agency to the government, the patient give agency to the doctor. But the Ayatollah, not the people give agency. God give agency to the Ayatollah, and Ayatollah use his agency over the people. This is the difference between paternalism and Ayatollah system. So go to the next slide. Here we have theoretical contribution. So Ayatollah paternalism and contestation with political modernity in 20th century. So I put this question: is the relationship between Islamic value and political modernity is problematic or dialectic? So if you go to dialectic, Hegel, the philosophy, he used this theory according to the human history. He said always there is thesis. This is stable. All the people believe in this way, stable. But over time, there's come antithesis from this thesis, conflict with the original thesis, stable thesis, lead to the new thesis from inside. So if you go to the political modernity in the Europe, when the church controlled people in that time, the people living with the dark age. So from dark ages, we have a new thesis. We said Renaissance, like Martin Luther, he established the Protestant, and some people, for example, Newton, or some philosophy. From this is Renaissance, we have Enlightenment during the history in the Europe. From this Enlightenment, in 19th century, established political modernity in Europe. So the relationship in political modernity there in Europe is dialectic from inside Europe society. Problematic, according to my idea, is contestation. So internal thesis in the society, but later come external thesis to this is internal thesis. Of course, between them is contradiction. They will be conflict. But what is the solve for them? What is the compromise solution for them? This is reconciliation. So go to the next one, please. For example, we have here Nader Hashemi, with his book Islam, Secularism, and Liberalism, Democracy. He tried to establish dialectic in the Islamic society. See, he wanted to do, for example, from religious idea to politics from the bottom to up, as it occurred in West. I think he did mistake in this way, because if you go to the Giddens, Anthony Giddens, he said political modernity is the Western model. And Cobb here, he said the modernity is a primary and function of Western liberalism. So the model of modernity is Western, is Europe, because the intellectual framework in the Europe is different from Islamic society, especially in the Middle East. But also the religion of Christians is different from Islam religion. I agree with Abdullah Ahmad Naimi. He believed that a neutral secular state gives a freedom of belief. Therefore, the state must be secular, not society. We should observe in that way. So this is a diagram. We have Islamic value. Islamic value include policy, economy, individual, society, religion. We have political modernity. Both of them is reality. So how can we make compromise solution, reconciliation? This is mean conservative society, secular state. We have example about that. For example, Malaysia here, they use this system, and also Turkey, they use this system. So if we need to give in good state, good government in the Islamic society, we should use this according to my open view. Here we go to the findings. The mechanism of Ayatollah paternalism is theology. The first mechanism for Ayatollah is theology. So theology of the Shia 12, theology of the 12 or Shia, this is the majority denomination in Iraq. So they believe in God. God, he is just and monotheistic, and also God was just hereafter. So, and the agent of God is the prophethood, Muhammad the Prophet, and the agent of God and Muhammad the Prophet is the imamate. So Muhammad the Prophet, his cousin Imam Ali, the Shia believe Imam Ali, he is a successor for Muhammad the Prophet. Imam Ali, his cousin of Muhammad, and also the husband of his wife, Fatima. They have two sons, Hassan and Hussein. From Hussein, we have 9 imamate the Shia believe, one by one. The last one, Imam Mahdi, he disappeared in the 4th century in Hijriya. So go to the next slide, please. So this is related to the second. So findings 1 to 2, mechanism, theology. So this is Imamate theory, the primacy of Imamate. As I said, they have 12 imam. And then we have philosophy of occultation. In the 4th century in Hijriya, Imam Mahdi disappeared already. They do not know what time will come again. After Imam Mahdi disappeared, the jurists and mujtahideen in that time, they create the theory of waiting. They waiting Imam Mahdi will come in the future, but they don't know what time will come. And after the 4th century in Hijriya, the mujtahids or ayatollah become agency. They have agent to the theology. But what they use, as I said, normative justification, they use methodology, usul fiqh. Usul fiqh depend on four data or like this. The first one is Quran, the second one the Sunnah, the third one consensus of judgment, the fourth one the reason, the mind. Until they use ijtihad, deductive law. Okay, go to the next, please. So the second mechanism, the second mechanism for Ayatollah is economy. So they have 3 revenue economy. The first one, the khumus. The khumus in the Shia is different than the khumus in Islam. They deducted from the Islamic law, but the work is different. So the Shia believe that every person, they give annual to the Ayatollah 20% from his money. So if I get a prophet, for example, earned money in the year 1,000 ringgit, I should give 200 ringgit to Ayatollah. This is religious tax. This is the first one. The second one, shrine money. So this is the imamate they buried in Iraq. For example, in Iraq we have 6 imamate they buried in Iraq. They built a shrine for their grave. and the people come visit their grave and put alms or donation at the grave. So the Ayatollah has supervision about this money also. The last one is Uda bequest. This is endorsement established in the 19th century from Hindia state. In that time, they have autonomy authority in the North India, belong to the Shia. They gave loan to the British government in that time, and the argument with the British government, the loan don't come back, but they should give 50% benefit interest. Go to the mujtahideen and go to the shrine in Iraq to vote. So we have three revenue for Shia, for Ayatollah. There is a mechanism. Go to the next slide, please. Oh, come back, please. So Ayatollah distribute this money for this is for four categories. So Ayatollah here use economy paternalism. He take money from this and distribute money. So he like ring or connection between rich and the money and the poor and the student. So he use economy paternalism here. Good. Also we have the findings three, modernity versus Taqlid in 19th century. So modernity come to the Iran and Iraq in 19th century. And that time, the authority is the traditional authority. Between them, contestation. So this is support liberty of society and individual, and this is support Ayatollah economy. And that time, the Ayatollah, they fear scare from modernity because the modernity will change traditional authority. For this reason, they want to protect themselves. The first of all, the conflict happened between two schools in the Shia. The first one, Usulism school. The second one is Akbariya school. So Usulism school have a good economy, as I explained, and has usul fiqh ijtihad. They use the justification, and they have the support by Qajar government in that time in Iran. So they won against them. When they won against them, and they control in the Karbala, control in the Najaf in Iraq, they established Taqlid, emulation, according to the usul fiqh. But modernity, they changed the policy, the government in that time. The government become like not Khilafah, but the government give constitution and separation of authority in that time, was become modernity. So between them constitution. This is lead with the state and federal state. The state belong to the modernity, federal state belong to the Ayatollah. Here also overlapping domains. For example, what does the make Taqlid is very strong? What does the make the Ayatollah is very strong? He has authority over people, spiritual authority. So already the Arab people on Iraq is part of the Arab people, especially in the Middle East. Their culture is a tribal culture. So the tribal culture already they use al-wali, guardian. In this, for example, go to the Arabic language. We have this word wali. Wali in English means guardian. For example, the father he is wali for his children, daughters or son, and also wife. For example, if we have big family, we have a head of this big family is guardian. He take decision for them, restrict them for their own good. All the people in the family respect him. If we go to the tribe, we have sheikh, the head of tribe. At the same time, the culture is the culture the Arab before the Islam. When come on the Islam, he also adopted this culture. For example, Muhammad Prophet is the wali Muslimin. The guardian over the Muslim people. The Khalifa also guardian over the people. The same culture transferred to the Ayatollah. Ayatollah is wali. So this culture, we have man control over woman. So the woman should follow the man because the man is more powerful or more logic or like this. So have control over woman. So not like just patriarchy, but also paternalism at the same time. So we have liberalism from modernity. So if we go here, so the type culture support the man control over women, but liberalism against this. So this leads to the Taqlid. So this is culture already support Taqlid because Taqlid is mean emulation, mean simulation. imitation. So all this related with the traditional culture, but liberalism against emulation, against traditional, right? So if you go there, the Ayatollah paternalism, so all this is culture lead to support Ayatollah paternalism. If the man control over women, already Ayatollah can control over society. But liberalism against Ayatollah paternalism because they want to give freedom to the people. So here we have, for example, paradigmatic study paternalism in Turkey society. He found, especially now the Turkey belong to the Middle East. The women in the family, they take decision from the fathers to go to the job or study. Phyllis Eckel also, he studied patriarchy in Turkish society, for example. He found why the state support patriarchy, because if the man control over woman, already the man will be accepted if the state control over them. We have example, the last event in Iran, feminist protest against the policy of imposing the hijab in Iran. So in this way, support this diagram. This is literature on this event. Support this diagram. If the government or Ayatollah can control over society, they should give the man a permission to control over women and use the justification for this reason. Go to the next slide, please. So this is diagram. I combine all this is events with this diagram. So we have the first layer here, integrated economy, tribal culture, Islam, paternalism, modernity. Integrated economy, we have commerce, sharia, money. Tribal culture, we have paternal law, social thought, man control woman. Islam theology, support, usul fiqh theology for Shia, modernity, colonialism, and liberalism. This is three lead to Ayatollah, and this is lead to the new policy. Ayatollah established taqlid by theology and usul fiqh, and also to protect themselves from liberalism at the same time, and this taqlid lead to the paternalism of Ayatollah established in the 19th century, the first marja'iyah, the first great Ayatollah. Go to the next, please. So, during the first half of 20th century, there was constitution among the Ayatollah regarding the application of political modernity. So already we have the three layers here in the society. Political theology culture, they believe in occultation theory. They believe Imam Mahdi will come and he will become leader. Ayatollah liberalism, he is agent for the theology, and already the culture of society is paternal, social thought. So this is happened in the first half of 20th century. Political modernity already exists in Iraq from British government and also in Iran. We have Ayatollah Naini. He supports this is by constitutional movement in Iran and Iraq. Ayatollah An-Nuri rejected this is political because he believed in Islam is enough, and this is Western model. What this is, both of them, they use pressure group by taqlid. Some people follow this man Ayatollah, and some people follow this Ayatollah. Both of them use taqlid, use fatwa to do event, to make people go protest. This is lead to the change ruling in Iran twice. The first one, the Shah, he support the Naini when he died and his son come again the ruling. He rejected this is Naini and he rejected political modernity, and he canceled the constitution and go back to the Islamic or radical idea. So also we have this in Iraq, for example, Ayatollah against colonization by British in Iraq. They do evolution against British, and they do election supported by Ayatollah, and they use taqlid to push people to go protest or go to the revolution against the British. And this leads to the government system in Iraq in that time. Go to the next, please. The second half of the 20th century, the same overlap, three layers overlap, the culture of Iraqi Shia, paternalism culture, political theology culture, and also this is the social thought. We have the same political modernity, and this time communism become separate among the people, and also secularism. the people, the Ayatollah become very worried because the people become so far from Ayatollah and they want their freedom. For this reason, at that time, Muslim Brotherhood come to Iraq from Egypt. They push Ayatollah Muhammad Baqir al-Sadr to establish a new political Islamic idea. He used the pressure group by Taqlid Ayatollah and also political opposition in Iraq. Was it lead to the modern Islamic policy and Islamic Da'wah party and also happening in Iraq. So, as I said, Muhammad Baqir Sadr, he wanted to protect the Ayatollah institution against communism and secularism. He established the Da'wah party, Islamic Da'wah party. He used the modernity for his own idea, as he can deal with dialectic, not a problematic. For this reason, they become like a radical movement or like this in Iraq. So in Iran, what happened? Paternalism of Ayatollah Khomeini, he used Islamic revolution in Iran by Taqlid. So the government will change from the minority to the absolute al-faqih. This is the first one. The Ayatollah become political marja'iyya, political Ayatollah, and the same time religious Ayatollah. He used absolute al-faqih, mean the Ayatollah has authority to control over policy, economy, individual, society, and everything.
5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay, I will finish. Paternalism of Ayatollah al-Khoi in Najaf. He believed in waiting theory. He believed in avoid policy because they wait Imam Mahdi will come again. He had contested or conflict with Khomeini at that time, and both of them is not agree, never. So, what this is lead? All this lead to authoritarian. The same of concept of paternalism, they have authoritarian paternalism. So, Khomeini is authoritarian, and also Saddam Hussein at that time is authoritarian. They don't agree to each other. The different denomination, different idea, different policy, ideology, lead to the 8 years war between Iraq and Iran at that time. I take this empty because I don't know why they use war. I don't know. Okay, go to the next. So, the result in all these findings, Ayatollah al-Paternalism used Taqlid for his authority, to people follow him and restrict them by Taqlid. It is hard paternalism because Taqlid applied to the adult and saint, but at the same time, the hard paternalism divided two, weak paternalism and strong paternalism. So weak paternalism belong to the Khoi. I said the waiting Imam Mahdi don't interfere with the policy. This is weak paternalism. Strong paternalism is modern political al-faqih. For example, in Iran, on every Ayatollah support to interfere with policy, he used strong paternalism because he can control over the people and take decision on behalf of them. Go to the next slide, please. So this is the three slide. This is my objective I achieved here. So in this is table, the key changes during the history according to the empirical redirected research strategy and historical method. Go to the next, please. And this is objective 2. The generative mechanism applied to Shia and Iraq, theology, economy, Taqlid, and modernity, and so on, during the history. Go to the image, please. And this is the three objectives, the process that have manifested connection with each identified generated mechanism, for example, botany, social thought, and theology. What manifested the Ayatollah authority, so modernity, lead to Taqlid, paternalism of Ayatollah established, women follow men follow the authority, culture of Taqlid, or like this, and also Ayatollah versus political modernity, lead to Taqlid versus liberalism, and lead to the state and parallel state. Go to the next slide, please. And this is the picture. This is the first marja'iyya in 19th century, Ayatollah Murtada al-Ansari. The first marja'iyya, he established Taqlid in the Iraq. He belonged to the Usulism school. He used Usul Fiqh. This is Hussein al-Na'ini. He supports the political modernity, but under supervision of Ayatollah. This is Fadlullah Sheikh Allah Nouri. He rejected the political modernity, and then he executed by government in Iran. Okay, this is Muhammad Baqir al-Sadr. He established the Dawah party in Iraq, the second half 20th century. This is Khomeini, Ayatollah Khomeini. He established Waqaf al-Faqih and authority in Iran. This is Ayatollah Khoi, the great marja'iyah in that time, the second half 20th century in Iraq, the great marja'iyah, and he don't agree with Khomeini, and they don't have connection between each other in that time. Why this is white, and just this is more information. Why they were open white and why they were open black? This is the public man, and this is belong to the Muhammad Prophet. This descendant of Muhammad Prophet, like grandson. So in Iraq, if the Marja or Ayatollah, he belonged to Muhammad Prophet, you should wear the black urban. But if don't belong to the Muhammad Prophet, he should wear the white. Yeah. Why? This is like a grave or like sadness. According to the cultural theology, because Imam Hussein he killed, and they have a sadness about Imam Hussein, and still they wear black. And this is show people we are a public. Yeah, go the next. Okay, I can say thank you. Shukran lakum in Arabic.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Tadi. It's longer than expected presentation.
How many minutes, Victor?
Yeah, almost 30 plus minutes.
Oh.
Yeah, 35 minutes. So in the actual Viva, you won't be allowed to present this long.
Yeah.
But this is the findings, research progress, giving you some leeway. So I will open the floor right now to comments from maybe Dr. Azmir first. Right? Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mutadi. Thank you everyone for coming. So I'm glad that you actually changed the title from patriarchy to paternalism last time, right? So now it's less confusing, it's much clearer now, right? So before when you use patriarchy, patriarchy was a bit neo-patriarchalism. I mean, is that what you used before?
Yeah, because your comment, I took your comment under consideration.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah. So I'm glad to see that. So my comment didn't go to waste. Okay, so everything looks good. It looks like you're almost ready for submission. So when is the planned submission? You know, or am I putting your supervisor on the spot?
Yeah.
No.
I follow him. He's just paternalism.
He's the Ayatollah. No, it's good. For me, when I see, I don't know about anyone. I mean, because I have some familiarity with Middle Eastern politics. I understood the generative mechanism that you show, and also the processes, there, and also the competition between modernity and also the patriarchal system, the paternalism that we see in the Shiite culture, religion, right? Just a couple of the minor comments, I think, mainly for clarification. I'm wondering if you can maybe give some examples, to illustrate some of these processes and also this generative mechanism, especially you see this competition between modernity, democratic ideals, like elections, for example, things like that, when we have one people, one vote, and then you have this imamate leadership, right, with this paternalism and the ability to maybe overrule democratic, decision making, I know that there's like all these things are going on in Iraq right now. Like Muqtada al-Sadr. I mean, that recently was pulled out from the government. Retreat back to Sadr city and all that. Like almost causing some kind of like civil war. So I wish. I mean, how do you contextualize these things? These things are going on. Because these things are good. I mean, but they're still sort of kind of like on the abstract level. I mean, it'd be good to have these details. The things that are actually going on right now. Real persons. Political figures, political parties, groups. Examples. To illustrate. All these things that you show in your presentation. I think that would make this thesis much more enriching. I would say, right? More informative, so people can see. They're especially on the granular level, right? You can see what's going on. And then.
Oh, by the way, there's drinks and whatever else. Yeah,
Okay.
you can help yours. Everyone can help.
And also, I'm curious. Like during the Iran-Iraq war, the 8 years war, right? So how did the Shia people in Iraq deal with it? They're like solidly behind Saddam Hussein, or they actually supported the Iran. I mean, where's the loyalty goes, right? And then is there fragmentation among the imamates, leaders in in Iraq during the war? So I'm wondering about that as well, because when it, of course, I'm sure there are rivalries as well, right, amongst them. Right? So I think that's that, and then also I'm actually curious as well when you see the income that the imamate earned, right? So from shrines and also from the tax, the 20% tax that you mentioned. Is that mandatory for all Shia follower? Like how does it get enforced?
Okay.
Yeah, so things like that, So I'm just curious.
Okay.
Because I mean, we have the zakat, fitra, whatever here, but it's not really enforced, So I'm wondering how does. I mean, 20% is quite high, So I mean, on top of like maybe the tax that you have to pay to the government as well, right? So yeah.
Good question.
Yeah, because like in Christianity, the teething, you pay to the church, maybe like 10%, right?
Yeah.
So 20% is quite
It's
high.
a lot.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, the 1,000 ringgit, you have 200 from the goes to pay for, and then of course, there's no transparency. You don't know where the money goes to. So yeah, I mean, so that's what I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You want to respond to what Dr. Mills?
I follow the policy. Finish the comments one by one.
Maybe you want to go ahead. Have your response first.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The first question, Doctor. We deal with the time here. So how can we give the information according to the limit time? So of course, the thesis I mentioned a lot of example. Because this example is like the data for my research. So I give example for example, An-Na'ini and An-Nuri, when they conflict between the first accept the political modernity and the second rejected, and what's happened? They haven't conflict between the social group. This group belong to the Na'ini and another group belong to the An-Nuri. Both of them they issued fatwa, but different. And the group, they conflict with each other and they kill each other in that time. So this example, for example, the election in the 1921 in Iraq, the first government established in Iraq. For example, Shirazi, Ayatollah Shirazi, he issued fatwa. He said the Muslim people, they don't allow to elect non-Muslim. So that if you go to the modernity, the election belongs to the citizenship, not belong to the religious group. So, but the Shirazi, he used this election for his own idea. For example, he said we don't allow to elect non-Muslim. Why? According to the Islamic theology or Islamic thought. This example. We have example in the Baqir al-Sadr or Ayatollah. Yeah, you're right. This is the findings discussion just during that from the 90s to 20th century. But of course, in my thesis, I mentioned that
what is the
first,
timeline?
yeah, first,
Yeah.
yeah, first 21st century, mentioned Sistani and
Yeah.
Muqtada Sadr, and also Ayatollah Wilayat al-Faqih, and referred to Iraqi policy right now. All this is example I mentioned in details in my thesis. So, how the people in Iraq deal with Iran? Yeah, you know the Shia in Iraq. I will give you example. For example, there is a poet. His name Al-Farazdak in the history, Islamic history. Uh, Al-Farazdak, he go to the Hajj to Mecca, and Imam Hussein came to Iraq for war against Yazid in that time. So Imam Hussein asked Al-Farazdak, tell me about the Shia in Iraq. What he said to him. He say, my loyalty, their heart with you, but their sword against you.
What's that mean?
This means the Shia love you, but in the same time they against you because the Yazid control over them and they give them money or like this and they scare from the Yazid. So in Iraq in that time, same. The heart of Shia in that time was Khomeini because Khomeini represent the agent of theology and he has fatwa. This fatwa is very strong. So the people don't believe in the government. The people believe in political theology, their culture. So, but at the same time, the people is scared in Iraq because Saddam Hussein that time is more powerful. If anyone escaped from military, he will execute it. At the same time, he give money, a lot of money to the people in that time because he's very rich. The Iraq is very rich in that time. So it's very sensitive situation in that time in Iraq. All people ask, the jihad, the people, the soldier, Iraqi soldier, if they die, if go to the heaven or go to the hill. People are confused, but at the same time they scare because the government at that time is authoritarian. So the people in that situation is deal with that. But at the same time, the last year and after 6 years, the Iraqi military become a little weak. Why? Because Iranian they have faith inside them. They have fatwa, jihad. And instead of Iraq, they don't have the same time. So for this reason, they are very strong and they push themselves to die or like this. So very sensitive in that time. The comments is a good question. So of course the Ayatollah don't have power authority to take hummus compulsory from them, but they how can they say? They put the faith during the 1000th year, put the faith inside them, because the hummus, this is the hummus established in the 9 Imam. Muhammad Jawad, he established this his way of hummus. He said if someone don't give this hummus, he will go to the hell. We don't accept him. His salat, his prayer, or his fasting, siyam, don't accept from God. All this and Hajj don't accept. All this related with this is religious tax. If you give religious tax, we will go to the heaven and everything okay. So this is the culture. The culture is more powerful from the policy. The culture is more powerful because the people are scared. The God don't accept them. Yeah. For this reason, they give money.
One last
Go ahead,
thing.
Dan.
It just reminds me. So when you talk about the state and the parallel state, right?
Yeah.
Because you talk about, I mean, there's the Sunni representation in the Iraqi government, and then you also have this imamate leadership. That's sort of this competing leadership, right? So, and then you also talk about reconciliation, right, between these two. So, how does it go about this reconciliation? How does these two competing pillars of the politics, I guess, political leadership, find middle ground.
Yeah, yeah.
In order to make it work.
Yeah, it's a good question. You know, this is the new constitution in Iraq after 2003. The Sistani Ayatollah, he interfered with this and he took decision on behalf of the people. And he put, and this is some article in the constitution, they should follow the Islamic value and they protect the society identity. And he said, of course, that all the Iraqis Muslim, they will support the Islamic value. The first thing, the constitution protect the Shia or the identity of society. This is the first of all. With my idea, if the government in Iraq or state in Iraq is to be stable for a long time, they should protect and support the Ayatollah. Don't become against the Ayatollah. If they become against Ayatollah, the state will fall. Why? Because Ayatollah, he possesses the people by taqlid, he possesses the economy, he has good economy, and he possesses the theology, and also has law. The law is contradict with the state law. So if the government be more strong and stable, and at the same time secular, but at the same time should support the community identity of community, support the rituals, the Shia rituals, and give freedom to the Ayatollah to use his authority. So this reconciliation, we can go to the good way. Yeah.
But how do you draw the boundary between the authorities? So this is the boundary for the Ayatollah's authority, for example. So the state does not interfere.
The state don't interfere like independent authority. So separate authority of religion and the government, not separate of the 100%. But this is the government don't interfere with Ayatollah, and also the government should take care about Ayatollah. The government should be armed from Ayatollah, because Ayatollah has more power from the government, because Ayatollah don't have boundaries, because the fatwa and taqlid across the boundaries of the state. For example, Sistani right now in Najaf in Iraq, the great Marja'iyya, he has maybe 2 million people follow him. 2 million people follow him in the Middle East and around the world. So he can, for example, if he issued fatwa against Iran, he can change the government of Iran. He can't change the government in Iran, because the people in Iran, he follow him more than the Khamenei. But in the same way, he don't interfere with policy. Why? Because he looked to his authority is more deep. The age is more deep than the state. If they interfere with the state, maybe he will get negative results at that time. But if went just a little bit apart from the policy, he can protect himself, and he see himself he bigger than policy, because he is a theology. He has the theology. I think in this, the government should take care about the authority, Ayatollah authority. In this way, the government will be stable. Yeah.
Very complex. Okay. Thank you so much, Azria. Next, Dr. Febri, your insights, your comments.
Thank you very much for Professor Fani because inviting me to the session. I have no idea before I can enter this room what the presentation is about. Yeah, like Dr. Azmil attended your previous presentation, maybe during your proposal defense. I have to admit, well, I believe Dr. Azmil when he said that this is much clearer from the previous one, and it's ready for the submission. I'm sure that you already have a good draft. You finished writing?
Almost.
You're still working on it?
Still working, yeah.
All right. So, since I'm not expert in this field, but you can expect that we'll ask some silly questions. I don't know whether it's benefit for you or not, but you have to also expect that your examiner during the Viva sometimes also is do not expect expert in the field as well. But I see your presentation that my first encounter with this what you are trying to do, and then of course, since you already presented in your proposal defense, you only highlight very minimum kind of with this research problem and etc. So my expectation is, because this is a research, this is a progress report, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I would like to know what is the progress of your what you have from your fieldwork, right? What you find in your fieldwork, and it's also highlighted by Dr. Azmir. What's the empirical things from your presentations? I just saw that you have so many finding, you have a conclusions, but the process to jump into the conclusions, the empirical things, I think during your presentation, I asking myself what. Then I would like to know the basic things lah about your thesis. First is I would like to know the source of the paternalism. Is it came from religions itself, or maybe cultural things, or maybe from other sources? So I would like to know. And the second one is you using the phenomena. So I don't know. This is very sociological terms, right? Phenomena is like the something new, something that only happen in the certain time.
Yeah.
Right? But from your presentation, the scope of your timeline of your study, maybe I don't know, it's quite long time. So it seems that this is not only phenomenon, but this is embedded in the tradition or in religion, or I don't know. So I think you have to, if you can explain that,
Okay.
right? Another thing is about the contestations. So what kind of contestation? So the Tajmil also mentioned about the process between the modernity and traditional. But in the contestation also, sometimes they have conflict, sometimes they have a negotiation, sometimes they have another forms, the nuance.
Yeah.
Then you have a reconciliation. So the process of reconciliation normally is a result of the conflict.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think you have to explain it. I have no idea based on your presentations what happened. What is contestation between the modernity and traditional things. And yeah, I have to admit that many terms that I'm not familiar with, like taklid, I always heard that, but to conceptualize it, I struggle to understand that. In your methodology, you also mentioned that you use you collect your data from observations and social media even, but I don't see that you present the data, what you got from social media, what you got from your observation. That's must result the empirical data. Yeah, I expect that must result empirical data, but I understand during the presentation you have the time constraint, but
Yeah.
maybe it's all you already written it, you already done it. So I think that's all my comment. Yeah, more on asking for the clarification and how you answer that. I don't know. Maybe during the Wi-Fi, this question also may be raised. So you have to prepare that. Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for the very important question, actually. So,
Go ahead.
yeah. So, what is the source of paternalism? The paternalism he came from pater, is the Greek word. It means father.
So I mean that this is only specific to the Iraq communities or society. I'm sure that in under the society, this paternalism also exists.
Yeah.
But what makes the Iraqian become a phenomenon? What makes specific?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not asking for the
So,
basic.
yeah, you're right. I don't know if this is my contribution or novel, and this is thesis to use this is word paternalism. This is can I say this Western concept I apply to Ayatollah, because when I go to the literature I read about this paternalism, and already I have background about Ayatollah. I say this is can apply, it's very close to each other. Why the researchers don't study the Ayatollah or the culture, not related about Ayatollah, related with the government in the Middle East, the culture of Middle East, the organization, and also the person, but there's no study about them, focus on them. Maybe in the Middle East, we look about the English language or like this. For this reason, I need to apply the paternalism in Ayatollah in this way. About the phenomenology, the phenomenology is according to my idea, is bigger than the problem. So we have social problem and the social phenomena.
Phenomena, not phenomenology.
Phenomena. Yeah. So because the phenomena is something is separate, something is common between the large group, and we need to study. At the same time, maybe we can discussion with my supervisor after that about this is word phenomena, is it fit with the title or not? Maybe can change it. We will discussion later with my supervisor about this, and this is good questions. The contestation, doctor, the first contestation I observed it is the Ayatollah authority against the modernity, because the modernity in the Europe, what's mean? The modernity is convert society from traditional to liberalism or modernity. So if you go to the Ayatollah has a traditional authority. So modernity already threatened them. For the first contestation between them, how the Ayatollah can link the group of people to each other and him. So because there is something named liberalism. The liberalism, they support individual. The Ayatollah needs to support the society, the social group like this. So the first one to fix this problem, they established Taqlid. Taqlid exists before that, but he become like formal. He become like has methodology, has some criteria established in 19th century. I observe it because the Ayatollah they beat the modernity before modernity separate, like happened in the Europe. And also happen again, for example, constitution between two schools, Usul school and Akbar school. Which one will control? Akbar school, they don't believe in ijtihad or in the reason. They don't believe in this way. They believe just in the Sunnah and the Quran. Just believe. But Usul school, no, believe in reason, ijtihad, and believe in consensus of the judgment. If, for example, some fatwa, this is fatwa agreed from several of Ayatollah, they become fatwa, correct fatwa, or correct fatwa. This is one. The second one, the Ayatollah can interpret and can deduct the law, the new religion law from the Usul Fiqh. This does not exist in the Ikhbari. For this reason, the Ikhbari in that time supported by Ottoman Khalifa, because it's more close to Uthmaniya Khalifa. But Usul school, they support for Safawiya state, support from Qajar state, because they support the Iranian government in that time. And also they have economy, they have political authority from Iran support them. In that time, the Uthmaniya Khalifa is very weak. For this reason, they can't control in Iraq. They scale the Ikhbari school from Iraq, and they become the Murtada Ansari, the first Marja'iyya, and this is the second constitution. And the constitution happened again in the Iraq between Na'ini and Fadl al-Nuri to accept modernity and reject it. For example, between Muhammad Baqir Sadr, he established the Da'wah Islamic Party to control over modernity. Khomeini, for example, he fooled the Shah Iran in that time, and he established absolute Wilayat al-Faqih. And also he used the term of modernity. For example, they have election, they have separate power, but at the same time, the Ayatollah, the supreme leader, he has authority more over than constitution, for example, in Iran. So this is can observe it as like constitution with modernity. So sometimes we can do reconciliation, and sometimes cannot. They will be key changes, big key changes happen in the society. So also observation on social media. Doctor, we use many ways to collect data, but at the same time to employ and to utilize this is data collection. We do like line story from this time to this time. From this time to this time, maybe I use 4. I use historical sources and go to the document and go to the observation and go to the social media at the same time to can highlight and to can take overview all this is phenomena. Social media, for example, retired man, maybe his age 70 or 80, the social media do interview with him. He can talk about that time, what happened. He lived in that time and what happened in that time, especially some clergy. So this is for me is good observation from them to take affirmation from them and utilize to my thesis. For example, what's happened between Iraq and Saddam, what's happened, how the Dawah party established in that time, the second half. All this is depend on social media because many people still alive up to now and they can give us the information from them because they live in that time. I use this. And the first one, yeah, verification, same data collection to analyze them. For example, I use exploratory because my question began with what. So what, to answer this question, what I need to explore the title, and also in the same way after explore, for example, the modernity, paternalism, Shia, Iraq, and then I description the relationship, the contestation, the link between people and Ayatollah, between state, and then identify the mechanism, identify the social phenomena, or the, how can I say that, I don't know. And then after then, identify everything, I do redirection. So I want to figure out what is the mechanism, and the mechanism, what the event they happen, mechanism, and what is the result empirical I obtained by this event. I did that in my research. Thank you for the questions, and I will take construction for these questions.
All right, thank you. We are running out of time, but I'd like to get anyone else like to want to have cross-examination. Anyone else you want to?
I can
Oh,
say
no,
something.
yeah, of course. From an Iraqi perspective.
Yeah, because actually I grow up with this culture, so yeah, I know, and I really thank Muqtadi, like how he pictured this, how he compared, is nice, but it's like it's just for research because it's very nice to to transfer this culture, because he did his study like until like previous century. But the action of Shia, I guess Muqtadi know more than me, like last 15 years, after 2003 or 2004. So I think like the data that he have right now is more than enough for PhD because he showed me a lot I can see. But at least like we highlight a bit like in the thesis or maybe later in the Viva about the action last 15 years of Shia. I like what the doctor said about Muqtada Sadr, about Sistani, because the action last 15 years is like too much. Like this is like the main action of Shia people, and how this affect on the society. So yeah, if we just can highlight this, but the rest are okay. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. You know, this is our center. We do just a research progress, not like Reviva, not the whole thesis. So for this reason, of course, I studied maybe 2 chapters from 2003 up to now. I still work about this. Is maybe I will finish soon, but I already finished from the 19th century to the 20th century. So, but yeah, there's a lot of actions happened after from 2003 up to now. Yeah, many questions, many events happened related with the Sistani, Ayatollah Sistani, the Great Marjaya, and related with the Muqtada Sadr, and also related with the Iran, Wilayat Faqih, absolute Wilayat Faqih in Iran, because they have many Iraqi group, they follow Iran, and they make change in the Iraqi situation. Yeah, for this reason, I mentioned here Khomeini and absolute Wilayat Faqih in the 20th century, because I will link this is after 2003 in Iraq. So there's something connection from this time to this time. Yeah, that's good highlight from you, Amma. Thank you.
Because I remember you also told that in the last presentation you said, Muqtada Sadar is a lesser cleric than Ali Sistani, right? So it means that even though he is influential politically, but religiously he doesn't have the same influence, the
Ayatollah.
same cachet
Yeah.
like Ali Sistani,
Yeah.
right, which is more senior, more revered, I guess, compared to.
You're right.
I mean, because Muqtada Sadar is not his father, right?
Yeah, Muqtada Sadr, he's not Ayatollah. But why I said here the paternal thought? Because the culture of the Shia already is paternal thought. Despite Muqtada Sadr, he's not Ayatollah, but has maybe 1 million or 2 million followers in Iraq. They follow him. And he took strong paternalism because Muqtada Sadr, he used his authority to take decision on behalf. If, for example, Dictor, the last election in Iraq, he won in the election 74 seats in the parliament. 74 seats. All this belong to Muqtada Sadr. And because there is conflict about parties, he needs something to do, the others need something to do. They don't agree each other. We become not government maybe 6 or 7 months without government. They just conflict. Unless Muqtada Sadr, what say Muqtada Sadr last thing? He ordered all the parliament belong to him to quit. They all quit. So he takes decision on behalf of them. And on behalf of his followers at the same time. Just one person. Say to the 74 parliament to quit from the parliament, all of them say, okay, we quit, they quit already. So this is paternalism, this is strong paternalism. Yeah.
Good.
But I've got a small question actually.
Yeah, Mariza, go ahead.
Yeah. Well done, good job, Muqtada.
Thank you.
I just got a small question. My area is on Sufism. My area is on Sufism. So I just wonder. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Only then he can be Ayatollah. Can
you hear me, Muqtadi?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. My area is on Sufism. My area is on Sufism. And I do know that I'm writing among other areas which I'm writing is on the greatest Sufi of all, and his name is Ibn Arabi, Shaykhul Akbar. And it is on Irfan. And it is the highest knowledge of among the Sunni and among the Shia. And it's called Irfan, which is the Gnosis and the Gnostic, the understanding of God. So I just wonder whether you touch that part or not in your writing, plus also the effect of Sufism in Iraq and also in Iran, the Shia point of view from a Sufi side. And that's all I want to know. Thank you.
Thank you for your questions. Yeah, it's a good question, but I cannot deal with this part because maybe I need 2 PhD. Yeah, because the theology, the Shia of theology is the biggest part. So I cannot can deal with this part because I need to deep in history. I to go back to the first century of Islam and to deal with that. Just I touched this as mechanism, theology as mechanism to Ayatollah. Just I touch it. This is to appear or to evidence, approve. This is a mechanism. But if I touch the understanding of God, I will go to the Sunnah because we have 2 biggest group in the Islam. The Sunnah, the first one, the biggest, and the second is the Shia, 12% Shia, and they have a different understanding about God and about Muhammad, about Khilafah, about Imamate. If you go to this, we need to quit from this title. We go to the theological title. It's different. Why? Because this topic is very big, and this is also big. For this reason, I didn't deal with Sufism or theology or like this so much. Yeah, I focus on the just 19th century up to now. Thank you, Muhammad Riza.
Thank you.
My father.
Thank you.
It's your father. My father is Muhammad Reza.
Riza.
Oh, Reza. Okay, yeah. Yeah. So is the villain in Police Evo 3. What is it? There's one dimension that might be kind of related to Sufism, that the whole imamate, you talk about the agent, the agency, right? Has to do with Imam Mahdi.
Yeah.
So very strong in the Shia belief system
Yeah.
is that the Ayatollah or the Imam is a wakil or wali,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And they are all waiting for Imam Mahdi.
Yeah.
And Imam Mahdi is part of the 12
Last one.
the last one, and he went disappeared.
Disappeared,
Right? Zahir. So he disappeared.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, just like we believe Jesus was
Same.
elevated, Jesus disappeared, or Hang Tuah, whatever, yeah, disappeared, and then, so in the Shia will believe that he will come back.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, the agent, the wakil, the guardian
Yeah.
of the galaxy
Yeah.
is the Imam. Is the Imam, the Shia Imam then, right? So it's very strong. Whereas in the Sunni, that part of belief system is there, but we don't see Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim as a representative of Imam Mahdi, or King Salman or whatever. As we don't see that. Right? So, but in the Shia belief system, it's a very strong part of
The Sunnah also believe, but the theology is different.
Yeah.
Because the Sunnah believe Imam Mahdi will born in the future.
Yes. Yes.
But the Shia, he born already.
Yes. Yes.
And he born already, and the son of Imam Hassan al-Askari.
Yes.
And his age just 5 years when his father died, and he become imamate as authority, and his age just 5, and he disappeared because God protect him for people to kill him or like this. Yeah, they have the system.
Yeah.
They have theology system. Yeah, it's almost like Sufism. Yeah, maybe they use philosophy and logic and interpretation for their theology. Yeah, they use mind for the theology, but the Ayatollah don't has more connection with the Sufism. Why? Why? Victor? Because Sufism is more theology, more salvation, more related with the heart. But Ayatollah has authority by law.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
For this reason, law always against something related with the salvation.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. There's another dimension to the Shia belief that might be connected to Sufism. Yeah, my brother is interested. It's about Nur Muhammad.
Nur
The
Muhammad.
creation of universe.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And there's Allah, and then there's Muhammad, and then
From Muhammad and his descendants, 12 Imam, their light, their nur,
the light.
God from their light, He create all the universe.
Yes.
And then we have two guardian,
Yes.
Victor. We have legitimation guardian and cosmic guardian.
Okay.
So the Imam has cosmic guardian because the Imam infallible man, and because of Imam the universe exists and stable. If the Imam disappear, the universe will disappear. So for this reason, Imam Mahdi exists up to now and he live up to now. Why? Because the universe depend on him. His foundation of the universe. This is we call cosmic guardianship, if I can translate. At the same time, they have legitimation, the guardianship. What does it mean? The Muhammad Prophet and his descendants, the foundation of the Islamic law. Allah, Muhammad, and his descendants, the foundation of Islamic law. From them, the Ayatollah can deduct the law. From them, because this is the foundation, the sources. So, as you said, to Sufism, cosmic guardianship, they same with Sufism in this way. Yeah, this theology.
It goes into tasawwuf, Sufism. Yeah. Okay. I just want to continue. Anyone else have one or two? No. Yes. No. Okay. I just want to give my own feedback as well. I thought both the inputs from Dr. Azmi and Dr. Febri are invaluable for a number of reasons. Yeah. Just to note back a number of things. bring your discussion, bring your the discussion chapter, right, to some contemporary events, contemporary issues, right? So you can talk about Iraq and beyond Iraq as well. So paternalism in the world, paternalism in contemporary Iraqi society. This is very important to put the scope of your research, because you say yeah, I'm focusing on this scope, but in the discussion chapter you can have other the very important discussions to have, very important highlights, because people, Iraq is is in the world map, right? If you say Kamchatka, where's Kamchatka, right? But Iraq, everyone knows where Iraq is, right? More or less we know. There's some development in
A lot
Iraq.
of events.
Yeah?
A lot of
A
events.
lot of events, a lot of events. US in there, Russia is there.
Because another oil.
Huh?
Because another oil.
Because of oil, you say Botswana, where is that?
First time I come here with my classmate in English is Chinese girl. So I told her in that time, do you know Iraq? He said, yes, I know Iraq. There is war and oil. Yeah, we know Iraq, war and oil.
Yeah, okay. So that's the part that you could bring in your write-up, right? The other things that people might have questions, right? So in the Viva later, you want to close all windows so that there's no arrows on spears coming in. Just want to open the door so that the attack come from the front. So people have questions like, what's the impact of Iran-Iraq war, the presence of United States, Saddam Hussein. So you might need to address those things vis-a-vis paternalism, whether there's it's an increase of paternalism, a reduction of paternalism, transformation of paternalism. So the examiner later on might not have those queries, those questions in your mind. How come you did not include Iran in your analysis? Or Iran is such an important factor, right? In the Nishian world. So you want to be able to address that, earlier on, and then every now and then put that because Iran is an important player in the region there, or whatever else. Even US, does the presence of US would increase the levels of paternalism or decrease the level of paternalism? They have been there for what, 10 years, right? And suddenly they left, right? Okay. No, that was Afghanistan. No, Iraq, right? Iraq, right? So they just invade all countries. What the heck, right? Well, and then they sell weapons and put chemicals on other people, bomb Japan. And then the other thing is, I remember to have some policy recommendation in the discussion chapter. Since we are Center for Policy Research, let's have some policy recommendation as well. Dr. Febri, for someone who might not be clear about what he gave some very, very good comments, yeah. And Dr. Febri was asking some poignant question. What is the sources of paternalism? So maybe it wasn't clear there. And by the way, that's actually a very important question to answer.
Yeah, maybe I can give an analogy here. Secularism started in Turkey after Kemal Atatürk, right? So before that, they were have a different kind of system. So I don't know whether paternalisms have that kind of attention event, or maybe the research from others. I don't know whether Iraq society was paternalism in the first place, or maybe there are some transformation or events that make that change the society become more paternalism. So that's my questions. So I don't know whether you have an answer to that.
But he did show the thing that it comes from the tribal culture.
Yeah.
And then you have the tribal leader, which is very patriarchal and very patrimonial.
So that's
right?
mean
And
that
then it's
embedded.
the kind of system, that culture that's inherited, right?
Oh, inherited sometimes.
Adapted to the modern day.
There is a diagram you already showed. Maybe you can view again.
So it's okay if you have.
Yeah.
If you have a.
There is, I mentioned in the literature, there is the book for Kim. He issued in 2017. The name of book is Paternalism and Policy, and he studied the paternalism in the 19th century in the British. And he observed the people in that time, they have nostalgia nostalgia. The British people in the 19th century, they have nostalgia about the idea in the 18th century. So the idea in the 18th century is Victoria idea and the paternalism culture. So in 19th century, the modernity. So when the British changed the policy from the traditional paternalism to the modernity, the people faced many problems at that time because the capitalism and don't care about poor so much, and there is a rich and there is a poor like this. Uh, in that time, when the people face a problem, and this is the question to Iraq right now, the people has nostalgia about the 90s, this idea, paternalism idea, and become this idea more strong in 19th century. And for this reason, some member of parliament, they discussion a lot of in the parliament to repeat or to do again paternalism. So for this reason, the British government at that time become more paternalism to take care about the poor and to support the idea of society because the people feel strange or like this. Yeah, to apply to Iraq, Doctor, already the culture of Iraq is paternalism because we came from tribe culture. And then the Islamic religion, because Allah is mercy, Muhammad Prophet is mercy. For example, the Quran, what does the Quran? أَنَّا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. This means, oh Muhammad, we send you as mercy to all the world. At the same time, Muhammad has authority to the people to restrict them for their own good. To, for example, don't do that, or like this. So they say this paternalism, but is mercy paternalism to the people. This is culture transformed to the Imamah theory. So in the, for example, the 12 infallible Imam, the descendants of Muhammad the Prophet, they have authority, the same Muhammad the Prophet has authority. And at the same time, they mercy to the people and restrict them by the law to lead them to the heaven. After then, occultation philosophy, the Ayatollah become transformed paternalism to Ayatollah, he become paternalism. So we talk about the culture. This is culture up to 19th century. Modernity came by colonialism or by how can I say exchange idea, exchange student in that time, become enter to era. This is modernity give a new idea to the people. It is opposite with the paternalism. For this reason, how Ayatollah can protect the authority to protect society from liberalism. This is the problem happened from 19th century up to now, and this is the contestation. Yeah.
Can
Okay.
I add? Just,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, I don't mean to prolong this.
No, it's okay. It's important.
If you're anxious to go elsewhere. No, I think it's interesting that you brought up the transformation in England back then,
Yeah.
right? Because you have the society that's transforming from feudal system to a capitalist system, right? When you read like Karl Polanyi's, Great Transformation, you know, this society, because you have in a feudal society where you have a very strong patronage system, right? So a lord would be responsible for the people who live in his domain, right? So this is the giver, the benevolent ruler. So when you have problem, you have nothing to eat, you go see your lord, and the lord will give you that, right? So this is the kind of the system you see in the feudal times, right? And then when capitalism came, it destroyed that kind of system, right? Patronage system. Now everyone has to work for their own food. Everyone has to, then there's also migration from rural to urban areas as well, because that's where all the factories were, right? So now people are uprooted, not just from the place where they live, but also from the culture, traditions that they grew up with, right? So I think I don't know if you include the economic transformation dimension in your analysis as well, because maybe Iraq has changed economically. I mean, from we know that in like tribal culture, where nomadic culture in the desert, I mean, it's a different kind of I mean, you really dependent on the tribe leader, the tribe. But now maybe Iran has the economy has become more complex, and then that changes the you know, the patrimonial system that you see, you know, the patent system. I don't know. I mean, you know, but I think economic transformation has a role to play in this as well, you know, in changing the nature of this patrimonial system. See. Especially if you, if you make comparison, if you compare to what's happening in Europe or in England, as you mentioned. Right?
Yeah, for this, in Iraq right now, they have nostalgia about, for example, Saddam Hussein regime.
Yeah.
Saddam Hussein is very dictator at that time, but the people, the life is very difficult now. The people face many problems, and also the people forgot, but just have nostalgia.
Yeah.
Because they stable a little bit. Or
Indonesia also
culture.
very nostalgia.
Yeah. Lebih enak zaman zamanku right.
Yeah.
The one I want to raise, which Dr. Azmir and Dr. Fabri was talking about, since you're talking about retroductive research strategy, by the way, you got to correct the spelling error, retroductive, not retrodictive.
Okay.
Retroductive. Now remember, the question asked was the sources of paternalism. So paternalism is the empirical.
Yeah.
The sources is at the real, right? So this is the fire that is creating the paternalism, the manifestation of that. So yes, there could be economic mechanism, it could be religious mechanism. We were talking about that, remember? It can be cultural, the tribal, right? So you want to kind of show that visually, that these are the sources of paternalism. And the sources of paternalism, and if you can have one, you can even start with that one as your findings, you know. This is what I'm going to talk about, but I'm going to reverse the process, but this is my findings, you know. So my first finding I showed is the tribal mechanism, the tribal cause, and then there's the theological cause, and then there's the economic cause. All contributes to paternalism, right? And then remember, there's, you know, if you talk about phenomena of paternalism, so we talk about this word, could be transformation of paternalism, right? So you can talk about different eras of paternalism, right? And then how the different fires, economic fire, theological fire, cultural fire, tribal, whatever, right? Political as well, right? Would change or would affect the paternalism differently. And as you said, it's good that you're using the dialectical, the spiral. What is the empirical can also be real, right? It can be the cause, right? And cause some events that reflect at the empirical. So that's what you want to show to the examiner. And Dr. Fabri was highlighting something very important. Not all examiners read your thesis.
Yeah.
Right? Even though they an expert or read, and sometimes they do not read, and they read the abstract, they read the findings, they read the methodology bit, they start to comment, you know. Now, I said through many of this, not Dr. Azmir, but it's okay. Azmir has been examiner for a number of my students too. So, but some do not, you know. So you got to help them understand. Understand. So I think there's some people. Azmir has sat through many of your presentations, so he understands well. So you got to demonstrate, show that model of how paternalism exists or being created, you know, through the retroductive.
Okay.
You got to show a picture of that and then show. You know, there's the theological, which is Islamic and Shia. There's the tribal or cultural. There's also the economic, because of they control economic resource, right? Political as well. So if you can demonstrate that, and that is actually at the real. This is the power, and certain events in the middle, which is the actual domain, and then the empirical, which is the
result of the
paternalism. Yeah. So you have paternalism, right? And the other point that Dr. Fabri was mentioning, you know, in other places also, you know, have this kind of phenomena, right? I mean, there's Donald Trump, there's Erdogan, right? Erdogan, right? You know, people want strong leadership. Yeah, people like that strong leader kind of thing.
For example, we talk about Malaysia. The government in Malaysia is paternalism, but the mechanism is different here. And the people, for example, take care about the individual. For example, if you go to the smoking, I tell you, Victor, we see the picture in the bucket. and the picture is like show people the effect of smoking of
Lungs and all that.
yeah. So for this way, for their own good, to protect their health.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is the kind of paternalism. But if you go to the mechanism, is different about another paternalism. So the paternalism is good. For this reason, the liberals say the paternalism is wrong the first time. It's wrong the first time. But if they give justification, it's good. To protect themselves, there's good logic justification for their practice. Yeah, we agree with that way. So yeah, the mechanism is different, not the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, rational versus arbitrary. You don't want to have paternalism that is arbitrary.
Yeah.
The authoritarian.
Yeah, authoritarian.
Yeah, with a belovedness paternalism and authoritarian paternalism. So this is more strong, and this is now more kindness. Yeah.
Okay, let me see other points. Anyone else have some other comments or follow-up questions? Go ahead.
No, just a small comment from an outsider perspective. I'm non-Muslim, non-Iraqi. So
I can't tell.
so
you are going to hell.
I only get the clear picture when you answer the question. But when you do the presentation, the actual presentation, I have no idea what you are trying to say. It's too abstract. And I could not see the timeline. For example, like you put the tribal culture, right? At the third point, right? I think tribal culture should be the first point, right? That's the most primitive kind of paternalism, right? And after that, you can draw a timeline. Yes, it could be a parallel development. You could have theological paternalisms, theological factors, as well as the tribal factors. But you have to draw which one is the first one, which one is the most primitive kind of paternalism, and then what are the subsequent developments that came after. But during a presentation, I cannot see the timeline. I do not know which one is
The chronology, right?
development.
The
Right.
development. Yeah, the stages.
Because you are discussing about the mechanism, right?
Mm-hmm.
The mechanism should be chronological. For me, that's what I
Thank you. Yeah.
What's that? Yeah. Good point. So,
Yeah, good point. Yeah. I will take into consideration for.
just
Yeah, you know.
outside the perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, you
Because
know.
I do not understand all these kind.
Yeah.
I not even understand the Iraqi Imamite
Yeah.
system, right? But I do know a little bit about Iran-Iraq wars and the subsequent developments, the Iraqi occupations, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Just tell you something. The tribe culture is the most ancient
Yes.
mechanism.
So you should be.
It's before
Not
you.
the
This
point.
is before Islam, and this is the most ancient mechanism. It still exists working up to now. It's still the Iraqi and the
But it's
Arab.
parallel, right?
Yeah,
Parallel.
yeah. So it's like we can say that a preeminent domain. The tribe culture is a preeminent domain from the most ancient before the Islam up to now. It's work. Yeah, it's work. We can say mechanism for all the key changes, for all transformation. Yeah, but this is a good notice from you. Thank you.
okay, thank you so much. Mutadi, are you okay?
Okay.
Right. Good. Yeah.
Before I do presentation, I work this way. I do my best,
Yes.
but I'm not sure if I do good or bad. Is that good way? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
A round of applause.
Right. Thank you for all the inputs and that you all listen very quietly, attentively. Right, next we will have Hanif's presentation, but let's take a 5 minute break. Yeah?
Oh, another
Hanif,
presentation.
but you
But
can
Hanif-
stay, huh? And yet this is, but this is just like we call it group supervision kind of thing. So he's just practicing, throwing out words from his words. Yeah. Okay, terima kasih banyak. Thank you so much.
But Hanif dekat Isdef kan?
Hanif kah? Yeah, he's there already. You ran over to his death.
Hanif separate.
Yes,
Kira Isdef.
Thank you so much. They will send apa namanya form to you all nanti.
Belum.
Form
Masih
dan
dalam proses proposal.
We have the same.
Masih nanti kalau udah mau semester baru datang.
Ya, terima kasih. Bantu saya tolong. Dr. Azmir apa Indonesian scholar of Indonesia.
Tadi sakit pinggang, nggak tahu bisa
Indonesian.
Dari Indonesia ya?
Ya, dari Indonesia.
Asli mana? Di Jakarta. Di mengajar atau di?
Ya, sekali mengajar.
Ya.
Tapi sisanya saya orang Fitri ada kerja di kuliah saja.
Sebelum pensiunnya gimana?
Bekerja di advertising agency.
Advertising agency.
wartawan juga kan?
Di sini atas rangka apa?
Mau belajar mau kuliah.
Oh, mau kuliah sama ini. Oke.
Jadi saya itu bisa ikut course mau belajar.
Ini ketemunya di mana?
Teman saya interview. Teman saya grafis designer.
Oke.
Dia bilang saya pengen kerja budaya. Karena saya di Indonesia ada kota-kota pantai itu tidak lagi makan ikannya.
Oke.
Jadi saya pikir ada kalau di mana itu kan satu budaya hilang, satu peradaban hilang. Karena semua orang makan kota. Nelayannya bagaimana? Saya di kota. Sebenarnya beliau tapi banyak di rumah nih. Juga ke situ sih. Jadi saya mau apply, ini baru mau apply karena saya
baru mau
apply tadi sudah apply, ternyata saya tidak ada supervisor belum ada.
Saya nak jumpa student
Saya masuk.
Ada banyak ini ya.
Tak apa, you ada session ini.
Bukan. Tapi you can say, Ivan, it's okay. Saya apa nama kamu? Pasal kamu.
See you. Alright.
Hah? You ada
kamu jumpa.
sekarang dia sekolah pakai apa saya? You ada apa-apa?
Tak.
You just continue.
Ini saya kerja lagi begini bagaimana ini? Ya betul. Presentation apa kan?
Ya untuk penilaian.
Versi 2, masukin lagi step lagi.
Bukan chapter punya.
Terus ini kena ada teori dengan metodologi.
Oke. See you.
Okay, see you.
You still live.
Sama itu betul ya?
Because I saw you.
Still live where?
Are you still in Laos?
I haven't moved to my new place yet.
Oh, because I saw you actually.
You saw me where?
I think you saw it because you say your laundry is at my shop lots.
Yeah.
You just the shop lots are in front of my apartment.
Iya Pak.
The one
I saw you.
Boleh sampai ke
No,
the shop lots where?
the laundry.
The laundry there. Okay. So there's a mini mart there. There's a grocery store. You say hi lah.
No, I'm not sure. Because I just embarked from the bus. And I saw someone like very talky.
So next time say hi.
Yeah, sure. But I was afraid that it's the wrong person.
No, I mean that's the risk you have to take. I mean, sometimes that happens to me as well. You know, like I see people, I thought I knew that person. You know, say hi, it's like, hey, who are you? One time, they didn't talk about this place, right? So I saw a friend who lives in KL, my long time friend, but I haven't seen him for many years now. So I thought it was him, like he's there with his family. I thought like he came like in a holiday, right? So without even, I just feel like, hey, kita sampai, and then he looked at me, he's like, who are you?
Hanif, are you okay?
It happens.
How you know?
I'll try.
Okay, I'll see you guys. Yeah, okay, all the best.
Okay. Thanks, Azmi. Appreciate it. The borang and all that will be emailed to you. Ada. Eugene, are you helping out?
Can you help me, bro?
Okay.
It's more like a rhetorical question, eh? Okay. A good progress.
Thank you.
We'll have tea or coffee or something, and we'll go through certain things as well.
Ammar, he very like sociology and anthropology.
Oh, all right.
And he read a lot of books. At the same time, he has how can I say that? This good experience with business people, homeless. He go to the homeless people, talk with them. Also, many of people. So he very related. He told me if we go to the back to the history, maybe he would choose the sociology than biology.
Oh, it will be fun if you. But there are things that you can study independently without, being a PhD too. If you, I have a YouTube thing on a PhD, so I say you do not need a PhD. If you can quit, you quit now, right? There's no good reason. I mean, I listed some good reasons, but if you want to enter the academic world, it'd be good to have a PhD. Or a career that requires a PhD, it's good to get a PhD.
And I did the presentation with him twice before I come here, and he criticized me a lot. Yes. Do exercise.
It's good that a friend is critiquing you, then then you can improve further. Okay, Hanif, you ready, Hanif? Where's Hanif? Oh, Hanif ran away. Okay. So, Nah is the surname in Chinese would be
Lan. It's actually blue.
Lan. Oh, Lan.
The Chinese name?
Yeah, your Chinese.
Oh,
Lan, like 蓝色的蓝.
first name?
Oh, is that?
Oh, there you go.
Huh?
You
It's
found
very rare to have.
very rare.
It's very rare to have a surname.
Surname.
Yes, blue. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Same family.
you have the same surname with.
I'm not sure. Is that blue? in
Yeah,
Chinese?
the
Lan.
yeah,
Lancer.
Lancer the Lan.
Lancer the Lan, yeah.
Oh.
So your English is NAH
just
or
the first name.
how do you spell your in English?
English?
Yeah.
I don't know, just Lan.
Lan.
Just Lan, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But
Usually I do not know. There's a different translation when translate to English.
Yeah.
My translation NAH.
Indonesia.
But I saw the same characters translate into NA, LAM,
And
A-A-M?
LAM. I think it's Cantonese. spell.
Cantonese is Lamsek. Lamsek. Lancer.
No, I'm not sure why my translation is NAH.
Then are you a Hokkien,
Teochew.
客家人
I'm not 潮州人。
潮州
Teochew.
客家 Teochew is 客家 right 客家人
That is different.
No 潮州人 Teochew Nam
Yeah.
Teochew Nam. A lot of Teochew Nam in Singapore.
Oh yes, correct. It is like businessmen,
Merchants, yeah. Okay. All right. Oh, there, Hanif. Okay. Hanif made an effort to change his shirt just now. He's wearing another Harimau Melaya or something like that, right? You know? Okay. So this is our group supervision, right? As usual. So this is not. There's no evaluators except for us, me, us here. So I'll be the first research proposal presentation. All right, Hanif, the floor is yours. Bismillah. Go.
Yeah, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good
Waalaikumsalam.
afternoon to everyone. So at first, I would like to declare that this is just a group supervision. I'm still in the progress of completing my proposal, so I try to present as much as I can, preparing for today. Okay. So my topic, my proposed topic is the multi-centric migration model in education facilities for children of Indonesian migrant workers, the case of Sabah, Malaysia. So this topic refers that I would like to test the multi-centric migration model towards the impacts of the education facilities for the children of TMI. Next slide. Next slide. Please scroll. Scroll down. Scroll down.
Scroll down. Scroll down. No, don't worry, Eugene. Everything will be recorded.
Oh, I have a point now, right? Okay. Okay, point now. Okay.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Okay. So we'll present for the chapter 1. There will be several sections: the introduction, background study, problem statement, research questions, methodology, scope and limitation of the study, and also the significance. Next slide. Okay, I begin with the introduction. So the migration of Nusantara people to Sabah, Malaysia, remains until today, although with a different context. What I mean is that the process, the pattern of migration, the migration phenomenon in Sabah actually happens not only occur within this new type of the international system, or we call it the human civilizations of the Westphalian Treaty, the Westphalian international system, which we introduced the concept of nation state. So the migration process in Sabah begins even since before the Westphalian international system. So during the era of the pre-Westphalian international system, we have our own international system, which we call it as the Nusantara. So that happens until today, the migration process. And the current context, we call the migration as the international migration. And I'm focusing on the Indonesia. So the process of the migration phenomenon in Sabah composes of unskilled or semi-skilled migrant workers, which means that the numbers of the migrant workers from Indonesia who come to Sabah, most of them are categorized as the unskilled or semi-skilled migrant workers, not the expatriates. And then most of them in Sabah, they grow, or sometimes they also bring their own families, their dependents, which includes the children. And as a result, there's the establishment of the Sekolah Indonesia Kota Kinabalu, or we call it in English is Kota Kinabalu Indonesian School, as well as there are many community learning centers, CLCs, in Sabah. Next slide. Oh, but before this is the picture of me. Last year I did a bit of study, and these people are Indonesian. They are from the southeast of Sulawesi, which is the people of Butonese people. Okay, that's right. Scroll down. Don't move anywhere. Okay, so scroll down.
Scroll down.
So now I would like to start with the background of the study first. So, what is migration studies in international relations? So, migration studies can be considered in the international relations discipline when it comes towards the so-called international migration. Because in the current context of international system, we are in the era of the Westphalian international system, which is the nation state. So in international relations discipline, there are 4 main principles that we need to understand about what is the concept of nation state. So the 4 principles of the nation state is, the first is sovereignty, sovereignty. The second one is the state government. The third one is the citizenship. And the last one, what? It is the territory, border. So, which is why, because we currently we have so-called border territory, the state government, it caused the migration, and the current discourse becomes in two types of migration, which is domestic and also international migration. So when we are talking about international relations, so I would like to focus more on the phenomenon of international migrations between the Indonesia and Malaysia. My case study is in Sabah. So when we are talking about the migration during the pre-Westphalian international system, we have different types of migration phenomenon during those era. We know that in Sabah, the Indonesian, we are known with the maritime ethnics, like the Bugis, the Buton, all people from Sulawesi, they are all the maritime people, so they used to create the boats, and then they can use the sea to go to any other islands, as well as we also know about the forest products, which means during the pre-Westphalian system, the products that people used to trade is not a so-called colonial product, or we call it as a new product. New product refers to like minerals, rubber, oil, aluminium. So those are the products that is introduced by the colonial powers who came to Sabah to trade. But before that, we used to have a forest product like a bird nest, sea cucumber. So those are the products that we used to trade each other among different ethnics. They come together and exchange the products. Okay. So in international migrations, there are two factors that cause the process of migration in the current era of Westphalian treaty, which is the first is state-centric, the second one is multi-centric. I will describe about what is the difference between these two model. Next slide. Okay, so because there's the existence of migration in Sabah, there is a phenomenon of the children and their education access in Sabah. So according to the data from Indonesian school in Kota Kinabalu in 2023, there are 22,745 students across Sabah and Sarawak. And whereas according to the Christie 2016, the total of the children available at Sabah is 53,000. So it's about 50% something, the students who have access towards education. Next slide. So now, after I discuss about the background study, I would like to straight to my problem statement. So, such numbers of education facilities in Sabah exist due to the involvement of the state and non-state actors to facilitate the children of PMI. PMI is Indonesian migrant workers in Borneo or East Malaysia. The meaning of involvement of state and non-state actors is that the establishment of Indonesian schools at Sabah actually happened due to the collaborations bilateral between the governments, Indonesia and Malaysia, as well as the contribution from the non-governmental organizations. In Sabah, some of the NGOs who are involved in providing education access are, we call it Humana Aid, one of the NGOs, also the Sabah Bridge. So these two are very crucial, the non-state actors. So my problem is why Sabah has surpassing the education facilities for children of PMIs compared to other states in Malaysia. I want to show you the picture. Next. Okay, this is the reason of my problem statement. Here I show you these are the number, the location of Indonesian schools at Sabah. As we can see, even though we are in Malaysia, there are so many Indonesian schools here. So this is my problem that I want to study why this thing occur in Sabah, but it doesn't occur in the peninsula, in Penang, in Kuala Lumpur. It doesn't occur. So here there are 111 primary school for Indonesians, also 45 secondary schools available at Sabah and Sarawak. Next slide. And these are some pictures of the Indonesian schools available at Sabah. As you can see, the buildings are actually a proper, a real school at Sabah. It's not just a temporary building or something like that, but it's the exact school building. So, next slide. Okay. So, Indonesian migrant workers, the previous studies often mention only about the Indonesian migrant workers. But actually, if all of us know, Indonesian migrant workers, actually, they separated into two types of migrant workers for Indonesia. The first is expatriates. Expatriate means it is the migrant workers who are highly skilled or considered as a professional, such as lecturers. So lecturers from Indonesia, they are considered as expatriates. Whereas the foreign workers are the migrant workers from Indonesia who are considered as unskilled or semi-skilled workers. So most of them are working at the plantations or companies, industries. So those are the foreign workers. Next slide. So the specific pattern of migration in Sabah. In our study, we would like to focus more on the foreign workers, not to the expatriates. So why foreign workers migrate to Sabah? There are possible causes that leads towards the migration at Sabah. It could be the history or the because of the geographical location of Sabah, as well as the working opportunity that is available at Sabah compared to the other parts of Malaysia. This one I considered as a multi-centric migration model because in Sabah we have a different historical background compared to other parts in Malaysia. In Sabah, especially at the East Sabah part, they are previously during the pre-Westphalian Treaty, they are known to be the world of the maritime. So most of the international traders from the people of China, from the European countries, from other people, they all meet together trading at East Sabah because it's a place where the people met. Next slide. Before. Okay. So this what I will explain. What is the difference between multicentric migration, multicentric as well as centric? So actually, state-centric and multicentric is terms in international relations that they're coming from a different school of thoughts. So state-centric is actually coming from the realism school of thought, in which in the realism theory, like classical realism or neo-realism or neoclassical realism, state is the unitary actor, which means that the one who can only influence another state is the state actor itself. So other than the state actors, they are not influential as the state. Whereas multicentric, it comes from the liberalism school of thought. So the perspective of liberalism school of thought is that there are actually actors beyond the state who also have the capability to influence a state to act in a particular way, or any actors other than state, like an individual or any NGOs, any community, they also have a power to influence state to create such a policy. So this is why state is not the unitary actor. And in multicentric, non-state actors have the capability to influence the state. So in other words, what I want to introduce in the migration centric, in the multi-centric migration model is that the existence of a multi-centric migration model allow themselves, the community of the migrant workers, have the capability to influence the state of Indonesia as well as Malaysia to establish this so-called the Indonesian schools in Sabah. That's why we can see in Sabah there are so many schools for Indonesian rather than in Peninsula. Why? Because in Sabah, what I want to study is that what I want to test is that there is the existence of this multi-centric migration model. Next slide. So these are my research questions. The first is how education is looked or how education is seen by the Indonesian migrant workers in Sabah. The second one, what are the comprehensive types of migration model of Indonesian migrant workers in Sabah? And the third is to what extent multi-centric migration model is suitable in explaining the existence of education facility for children of Indonesian migrant workers in Sabah. So the first questions, I would like to know the perspective of the Indonesian migrant workers itself. I will explain later about who are the people of this subject that I want to study. So this first question, I want to know about their perspective so that I can see whether actually this policy making of establishing the Indonesian schools as well as CLC is because of the 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 interest of this community, the interest of the Indonesian migrant workers who have such interest to educate their children, and that's why they bring them to Sabah. Whereas the second one, I would like to explore what are the comprehensive types of migration model. What I mean is that I want to explore what are the types of migration. I mean, what are the factors that contribute the Indonesian migrant workers to migrate to Sabah. As I said, I will focus on the multicentric, which means that I want to explore whether there are actually the so-called multicentric migration model, or in other words, there are like the migration process occurs due to the person to person, or it could be business to business, person to business, anything, any kind of comprehensive types of migration model other than state to state migration. So that's what I mean of the comprehensive types of migration model. And the third one, it is to test my hypothesis of the multicentric migration model, whether based on the findings of the first and second, whether actually the multicentric really occurs at Sabah. If yes, then that means I agree with the hypothesis. If not, that means I will disagree with my hypothesis. So because this one I will explain later in the methodology why I put this question at the thesis question, the third one. Okay, next slide. Okay, the methodology. That's the reason why I put the third question, because I use logic of inquiry or deductive research. Deductive research is post-positivism, also known as a hypothetical deductive method, falsification, or critical rationalism. So deductive, or known also as a post-positivism, is an extension of the perspective of inductive. So in inductive research or positivism, they believe that the data itself is enough to create a knowledge or to generalize such knowledge. However, in post-positivism, they disagree with the perspective of this positivism. They believe that it is impossible for scholars or researchers to collect data without having any knowledge, without having any perspective. So in post-positivism, they believe that scholars must begin with their own hypothesis or the theory before they start to study of any phenomenon. So hence, I began the study with producing my hypothesis, my theory, which is the multicentric migration model. Then after that, I will go for the data collection, and whether after that, in the end of the research, I will consider whether I will falsify my hypothesis or I will agree with the thesis based on the data that I will find later on. So as I said here, the paradigm of post-positivism or deductive rejects inductive epistemological assumptions that human senses is enough to build a knowledge. Knowledge will always be critically evaluated. So in deductive, any knowledge will be critically evaluated. So there is no such absolute knowledge in deductive research. So in the methods of the study, this is what I consider at the moment. So I will prefer the case study in other ways because it will be the most comprehensive way to only to focus on a certain area rather than to generalize. So minimum I will try to get 30 participants. So who are the 30 participants? 30 participants. So they are the Indonesian migrant workers who bring their children to the Indonesian schools at Sabah. And I will focus on the Indonesian migrant workers who bring their children to study at Sekolah Indonesia Kota Kinabalu. So that's my case study. Okay. Okay. The scope and limitation of the study. The study mainly focused on using the data from foreign workers that refer to unskilled and semi-skilled workers from Indonesia, or in local Indonesia, it is named as pekerja migran Indonesia, who have children study at Sekolah Indonesia Kota Kinabalu. So what are the limitations of my methodology, my methods? The first is the trust issue. I have a colleague last time during my bachelor at University of Malaysia Sabah. He is currently taking his PhD. So last time I discussed with him about the data collection, and I told him the data that I found related to my research, and he said even though he himself knows that these people are brutalist people, but the subject itself, the participant itself, doesn't want to say that he is a brutal. He will say that, oh no, I'm a Malaysian, I'm not Indonesian. So, in other words, it is a challenge for me myself if I want to do the research. That I have to make sure that the participants can trust me, so that they can tell me the truth about which region they came from, and then since when they come, and then how they migrate to Sabah until today. And the second one is overgeneralization. Because in the case study, as I mentioned previously, I only focus on one school, which is Sekolah Indonesia Kota Kinabalu. However, as I showed to all of you guys here at the picture, that in Sabah itself there are more than hundreds schools at Sabah. So if I only use one of the schools from hundreds of the schools, there is a possibility that I will overgeneralization it. So one of the ways that I think it's possible to prevent is that maybe the 30 participants I can take not only from one school but several schools around Sabah. Maybe at the west part of Sabah I took several, and then the east part, north part, so that at least I can get the data not only from one particular city but several cities. But altogether will be 30 participants. Okay, thanks. The significance of the study. The first is it is explanatory research. It is a deductive research. It's an explanatory research because based on my literature review, most of the research taken by the scholars, by Indonesian scholars, they are more towards the inductive research, exploratory research. So some of the research questions are: what are the roles of the Indonesian government? What are the roles of these NGOs? Or how the government of Indonesia conduct the bilateral cooperation with Malaysian government? How does the parents play its role to educate the children to go to the school? So those are the types of questions in the previous research. But my research is more to try to understand why. It's a why question, why type of question. The second is my theoretical contribution. So I will try to reintroducing the international system of the pre-Westphalian international system towards the migration studies. So most of the migration studies currently they often use the discourse of the Westphalian system. However, in my study, I will look more towards the pre-Westphalian system, which is before the existence of the nation-state system, the nation-state concept. So okay, and so that was my chapter 1. This I just briefly try to explain about chapter 2. I haven't done the presentation slides. So in my chapter 2, I use the thematic literacy review. So there are 3 themes that I focus. The first is the history of the workforce at Sabah. The second is the theories and concepts used in migrant studies, and the third would be my theoretical framework of the study. So at the history of workforce, I did literature reviews on the workforce at Sabah during the pre-colonizations, and after that during the colonizations as well as the post-colonizations. But at the same time, I will also did literature reviews on the education facilities for children of Indonesian migrant workers, so that I will know what have been done in the previous instance regarding the education related of the Indonesian migrant workers. Okay, thanks. Yeah, for the history of the workforce, I begin with before the colonization era at Sabah. So the North Sabah, previously known as the North Borneo, it was owned by, there are 2 sultanate. The first is the Brunei Sultanate. So previously, before this existence of Westphalian Treaty, the Brunei Sultanate actually was a very big empire. It begins from the Sarawak until the northern part of Philippines. So those previously were the Brunei Sultanate. And also we cannot forget the Sulu Sultanate at Sabah. So the Sulu Sultanate, their territory is from the southern Philippines until the Jolo Island, only as an island of the Jolo. They also known as the main port. So for the Brunei Sultanate, the community, they focus on the paddy field sector, which were handled by the ethnic of Murut and Kadazan Duzun. But then for the Sulu Sultanate, they are known to be the producer of the forest and marine products. So Sulu Sultanate, they were known to be the best in terms of marine economics, the blue economics, because of their marine products. They used to gather all the products available at the East Sabah to be sold at Port of Jolo. Jolo is the name of an island within the East Sabah, also the southern part of Philippines. So it is a hub. It is a hub where local and international traders came to exchange products. This was during the pre-Westphalian Treaty. Also, they conduct slavery. So during the era of before the colonizations in Sabah, there was actually slavery before it was then banned by the colonial power. Like,
Sorry.
Yeah.
I got to start giving my comments now because it's reaching the 5 o'clock and need to wrap up really soon. So, but before continue on, didn't expect you go this far, which is very good. More advanced than expected in your presentation. but I'm going to start giving my feedback to you. Yeah. Right. Okay. What is it? Where do I start? Right. At the very beginning, you were saying, right, you want to test the hypothesis of the multi-centric, right? So you might want to rethink and rephrase with or replace with another word. Necessarily, test might be develop the multi-centric model. We will get to that later on. My quick question right now is that is there a multi-centric model yet? Is there out there?
Yeah, multicentric is actually a concept, bro. So it's a concept where in international relations,
so multi-centric model of migration, is there?
Yeah, and then I use the concept in the migrant studies. So that's why I do it. I make it as a migration multicentric migration model.
Alright, is there such a concept yet?
I will read further because I haven't done my
that part of the leadership. Okay. Alright. So now, if you look at studies in UN, United Nations, all that, they have studies, right? Some numerous studies on migration, which talks about the pull and pull factors of migration, right? And that happens not just at the international state, right? But also internally in the country, right? So in China as well, there's internal migrants, internal migration, all that. So in fact, in Malaysia as well, I mean, the study about how Penang was a magnet for migrants at that time. And that time was not migrant as in from other countries, or migrants in Malaysia. So how the rural folks, right? Workers were coming from the rural to Penang to work there. So there's a migration, there's push factor, there's pull factor there. So if you're talking about multi-centric model that has existed, right? So you're actually testing it, right? If there is none yet, then you're talking about formulating it, developing the multi-centric model. You understand what I mean, right? So you are developing a multi-centric model if there is none yet. So you're not testing it, yeah, you're developing it. So that is, I think, an important note, even though it's a slight word change, right? Slight change of word, but it is a different process. When you develop, then you test, right? So develop is something you you gather this piece and gather that piece, and when you gather the other piece and you start develop a model there, right? So test is like the model is there, you're testing it, right? So it's somewhat different there.
Yeah, Prof.
So you got
develop the model by literature or by what?
It could be it could be literature. It could be by having, this theory says this theory says this theory says this theory this, and so I'm putting all this theory together. I develop a model, and I test whether this is right, this is right, this is right, this is right, right? And I found out this is right, this is right, this is right, right? Oh, by the way, this one is kind of right, it's half right, right? So I put together, I built a different model of understanding.
This is fit with his methodology.
Yeah, so you see the point now.
Yeah, then that means that I cannot apply deductive proof, because if deductive research, it is to testify the theory that is already existed.
Yeah.
Since you said that I need to change towards the formulating and developing the theory, that means I cannot apply.
Okay, where it goes, where we talk about deductive. This can be a theory, right? Yes, it can be a theory. So the theory says unemployment causes people to migrate, and a lot of things say there's no work here, I move, so stop complaining about we moving to another country finding work. You cannot create work here, I move to another country, right? That's one line of you heard that from a lot of Indonesian migrant workers. They say, I come here to work because the other one say, well, there's work here, but the wages are low. I get double my wage over there. That's a wage argument, unemployment argument. The other one says, I'm following my friends because my friends go there, I do not have anything to do in my village, right? It's like not fun. Look at the chickens, I look at the ducks, not fun. I come to the city, and by the way, there was when I did the paper, it was my master's paper, by the way, at that time. There's a professor, big professor, urban sociologist. So I talk about all these push and pull factors. I said, Reef, sometimes people go to the cities because of the glitters. People go to cities because of the glittering lights. People like the city, to just go and enjoy the city life, and that's true for a lot of youngsters. Right? So there are a lot of different theories, right? So you can test the theory, whichever confirm or is verified by the data, then you put into your model. So your multi-centric model is developed by different deductive testing. You test this theory, you test that theory, you test that theory, you test that theory, and put together and become your multi-centric model. Right? But if you're saying that I want to develop a multi-centric model, right? But how am I developing this multi-centric model? So in the process of deductive or a model that you want to test or whatever, it must be informed by something. Right? And in the process of masters or PhD, you got to say, from this literature, it says this variable is important, that variable is important, this variable is important. So in a way, you're actually taking from different theories to develop the model and to test the model. Right? So it is still deductive in that sense. But if you want to make it complicated, it can be retroductive, but that's a different story, right? But you're keeping it to just deductive. Because retroductive, then you are talking about you're talking about migration, you're developing a different kind of logic to the explanation, yeah. But if you're talking about testing theories, and there are many theories of migration, like I said just now, there's an employment theory, there's a family link theory, because my brother is with,
Culture theory.
there's cultural theory, yeah, and some say, look, hey, there is, my cousins are there, and Sabah is my family too. I'm here, but my family is over there, right? Yeah. I have Iran, my Iranian friends or Iranian, they are my family, so I just go there. It's like I'm part of that. It's like I'm going back to my family. So there's a family linkage. So many different explanations of migration patterns there. So you can talk about that, but then how you develop the multi-centric model, that's where your ingenuity comes in. That's how your creativity comes in. You can talk about, well, you slice it differently. You can say, okay, there's individual causes, there's a familial causes, there's there's the social causes, and you create some beautiful model out of it, right? Or you can talk about there's an input, process, output model, right? You can, there are different ways of creating model there, right? So that's where your creativity comes in, and you want to show that this is a novel, original model, and it's not model that exists out there. So that's why I'm coming in at this stage, which is good that you're presenting. So I know what you're thinking at this point, right? So it is still deductive because you're testing different theory and putting different parts of the theories into one model, right? And sometimes the model is like this, right? There, this causes that, but this is an intervening variable that comes in because we are talking deductive, right? So the intervening variable can be gender, right? Yeah. The intervening variable can be what is it? Yeah, skill. So over there, people know how to pluck the palm, right? And have the experience of plucking the palm fruits, whatever you call it. And so my skill actually places me. Well, I can feel this job because I have the experience. So skill can be intervening or moderating or mediating variable. So in that case, you got to learn what is the difference between mediating and moderating, intervening variable, because we're talking about a deductive kind of research right now. So, and now that is where model comes in, creating the model, because the model is not all the strength or the weight of variables are not all equal, right? And sometimes the connection are not always linear. Sometimes it goes there and before it comes here. Sometimes it's not a cause, it's a catalyst, right? Like so, like what is it? Autoimmune diseases, right? Right? COVID can activate autoimmune illness, but COVID doesn't kill people. It's the own immunity that kills the people, which is the case, right? So COVID is not the cause of death, but COVID activates the process that causes the death. So no, it's like that. So it's like you put a match out right now, it cannot burn the whole building. But you have a match, but you have the gasoline here, wood, things, then you can burn the whole building down. But this just a match cannot burn. So these are different the logic and arrows towards developing your model, right? But I think you have something exciting to develop because you have information from the ground, Now, so that's an important point right now about the model. The other part to your logic just now, you were saying that why is the you say the multi-centric model explains the phenomena of the numbers of Indonesian schools over there, but not here in Peninsular Malaysia. So you want to be careful with that logic because you don't want to be attacked, because the same multi-centric model can explain both countries, both phenomena, right? Which makes it a good model, right? So, for instance, remember we were having this discussion. I'm guessing that the main difference is the company's willingness to set up the facilities in the sorry. How do I turn this up? And that could be a key factor. Over here, the factories are not employing men, they're employing women, young age women, right? So mainly there are no kids, right? Whereas the men are working outside there. You can talk about all these things. But the model can still explain it because the model can see which variable is absent. The support from corporate sector, for instance. So you have this multi-centric variable model that can explain things. It can explain the absence or the numbers that are over there and over here as well, right? But I think what you're saying is that over there there are more support that leads to the existence of that, right? But this model can look. This model explain A, B, C, D, F, G, H, right? But in Sabah you have A, B, C, A, up to H. But in Penang you have A, B, we don't have C, you don't have F, E, you have H. That's what you want to say, and that's why you want to develop the model. You see what I'm saying, right? It is not to say that the model
Only in Sabah.
only Sabah. The model you develop can look at the situation in Sabah, can also look at the situation in Penang, for instance.
There are certain variables that not.
But some variables are not existing there. And how do you get the variable? You read the literature, you develop the variable, you identify the different variables there. Yeah, that's I think CIA has just called me, so I need to have a Mission Impossible. Mission Impossible. Yes. So you want to rethink your research question again, so that your research question reflect that thinking. Yeah, it reflect that thinking. What is it? Yeah. But it's good that you have started and you are going into all this now, the literature. So you have done the first one. So then only you think about your methodology. First is your compass, which is the research questions. So you're clear about research question, then so the question research can be what is the model that can explain the migration patterns, or actually you're even more interested more than that. You're going beyond that because migration patterns has a lot of explain. What would be the model that can explain the existence of the number of CLCs, the community learning centers in Sabah? Right. That's what you're interested in, right? Am I right? Is that? Because that's what you want to say, yeah.
More to the point.
More to the point, because you want to see, if you have that model developed, you can say, well, look, what's lacking in Penang is factor number F, factor number C. There's not, but in Sabah we have C and F factor, but in Penang we don't have C and F, according to my model.
Prof, if that's so, then is that most probably related to the comparative study? Like I need to not only in Sabah, but I also need to.
Yeah. So if you want to do comparative, you do not want to comparative, stick to Sabah. So you're not making the argument about Peninsular Malaysia. So your argument is independent, is in all right. Yeah, you got that one, right? So you don't even have to make the argument about Peninsula Malaysia. So you develop the model that can explain the phenomena in Sabah, right? And then you have the model, right? So after all, you're doing masters right now, right? At the end, you have come up with a model, and the model will have multiple variables, right? And each center, you say multicentric, like Hanif, right? So one center can have 3 variables, for instance. Another center can have another 4 variables, for instance. Now you got to develop the variables for each center. Then. One center can be family, the center can be company, the center can be the community in Indonesia, the center can be the community in Sabah, the center can be an NGO, the center can be the government, but put in the government, the center can be the teachers, the center, you can, so each is a center, a multi-centric, right? You say, so you conceptualize the center, you go into literature, see what the literature says about the centers that you are putting together, right? So at the end you have that and you test it. Then it is still deductive. So you do not have to go to the retroductive level to explain it. You go to deductive, but you still have the model. So it's still model making, developing model development. And is this what is this? It's important that it is something that you want to do. This is your thesis, number thesis, right? So you're not really explaining the migration pattern, but the migration pattern actually is a large part of the explanation, but it's not the only explanation. Right? It's the other part of explanation that support the existence, the establishment, the maintenance of the center, the community learning centers, right? So you think about what the other centers are, and then go to literature, collect the data from literature. If there isn't any to support the literature, you just note that, right? And then you can still put in there, right? But I think you can develop that model, and I don't think there's a model for multi-centric model of establishment of schools for migrant workers. I'm not sure there's that model, but model to explain migration patterns, yes. There's plenty of studies on that one yet. Some might call it model, some might not call it model, but there's plenty of study. I mean, that literature on that one as well. But the establishment of schools, no, I don't think so. Yeah, right. But I like the idea that you want to go the pre-Westphalian or the post-Westphalian or the meta-Westphalian, beyond Westphalian concept, so, or you can even call it Nusantara. And again, you want to note, but the Nusantara there, you're referring to Indonesia or you're referring to our concept of Nusantara?
Nusantara. Southeast Asia.
So you got to figure out, if you put in Nusantara as a wide concept, then the Sabahans are also Nusantara people too, right? So you can say, Nusantara outside of Sabah. So you can talk about that. But if you are referring about the Indonesian, you just can call the Indonesians, and it is straightforward. Then conceptually you won't have problem with the Philippines, who are also Nusantara, right? Or the Bruneians, who are also Nusantara. Suddenly the people from Champa, Cambodia might also be considered Champa, but that's not the issue. But if you want to operationalize Nusantara as something very specific, go ahead, but you define it, and you define it. It's fine, you can do that. In Malaysia, the word Nusantara is actually the pre-colonial definition of not pre-colonial.
What's called Nusantara?
Nusantara is a Malay word, Indonesian word, Bruneian word.
Mean Peninsular?
Archipelago.
Like Peninsular?
It's like ASEAN. The ASEAN.
Archipelago.
Maritime Southeast Asia.
Archipelago.
Archipelago.
Archipelago is mean Nusantara.
Nusantara, yeah.
So
Maritime Southeast Asia.
Maritime,
yeah. Archipelago, yeah.
Archipelago.
Yeah, archipelago, yeah. It's a bahasa word basically. But in Indonesia, the term Nusantara has been socialized very much in Indonesia. This is post-independence discourse mostly, but but in Malaysia and Brunei, the term Nusantara refers to the whole civilization. Yeah.
Arabic we say Al-Khabil.
Al-Khabil.
Same English Al-Kabila. We call
The
Nusantara, what mean English?
archipelago.
Archipelago, yeah, archipelago.
So it's an Arab word.
Arabic, yeah, close to Arabic. We say Al-Khabil.
Al-Khabil.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Might be Arabic because they travel a lot. The Arabs travel a lot. You guys sell a lot of things to the world. Understand?
No, I think Arab merchants they travel to Southeast Asia.
Southeast Asia a long time ago. Yeah.
It's a tradition of Arab merchants.
True. Yeah.
The spice trade between the European country and the Southeast Asia actually is through Arabic merchants. Arabic merchant is the intermediate between the European markets and the Southeast Asia.
That's another agent went there to complete my mission.
So this time is MI6 calling.
Yeah, MI6 went there. That's right. A friend of CIA or Mossad. They don't need CIA to help now. That was the intelligence agency of China. It's so good that we do not know in the name. So that's how good it is. That was a Chinese equivalent, the CIA equivalent in China.
Translate to English, not.
I don't think that they have some frameworks in English name, such as the Soviet Union has the KGB.
KGB, yeah. Is it China? It must be very good because no one knows the name. It's so good. They don't even have a name.
Security. Always know.
You don't even know, right? You cannot Google and find a place.
Unknown.
Right? CIA and Quantico, right? Yeah. We had no other place. China is so good. You don't give a name, so no one knows.
We didn't leak any information.
Don't leak any information. That's how good the Chinese secret service is. So anyhow, your research questions will need to be reframed, right? To lead to that developing the model so you can talk about what is the model, a model, multicentric model that can explain the phenomena of the establishment of the CLCs in Sabah, right? Basically, that's the main, right? And then you can break it into smaller parts. Basically, that's your whole research there. So you have clarity of what you want to do, but it's important that that's what you want to do, right? So actually, you're going beyond the reason for migration or the factors of migration, right? So that's another thing. Be careful of using the word reasons. Reasons and factors are different, and also different from meanings. Examining a PhD thesis from a university in KL. The phenomenology, they use the word reasons. As phenomenologists, don't use the word reasons, right? Reason is limited, right? Meanings, we use the word meanings. So meanings attached to a particular experience. We don't say reasons. Different methodology uses different concepts, constructs, right? So, but factors would be a word that is acceptable in deductive and inductive, right? Also retroductive, also they could. But abductive factors are not being used. Variables are not being used that term because variables and factors, abductive doesn't use that. So and then you can talk about the methodology. Then you think about the methodology, how you want to go about carrying out your research design to answer the research question, which is the establishment of that, right? So there should also be financial resource to set up the school. One of the centers is actually the resource resource agency, which is what is the resource agency to finance the establishment and all that, right? So, but you conceptualize the model. It depends on how you want to conceptualize the model. What else? If you're taking the sample from, but this is going into methodology now, right? If you're going into other schools, several places, then you want to justify it, why you are choosing many, not choosing one, right? But it's good to choose many, but still got to justify why you're choosing from this A, B, C, CLCs, the community learning centers. Why are you choosing these 3 and not 5 and not 2 and not, you still got to justify. So, or you want to choose one and compare it with another one, you can do that. Maybe one closer to the border, one is further away from the border, you can do that. Or one is richer, one is poorer, or one is from a particular type of estate, the other one is a non-estate. So this is where the research design comes in, but they must all answer the research question. Right? Okay. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. The part that you want to say about Peninsula versus Sabah, you can just pop in something like an observation that there's a lot of CLCs in Sabah compared to Peninsula. So you're interested to pursue, more comprehensive explanation to the phenomena, right? So that's what. So you're not negating whatever in Peninsula, you're just pursuing, because it's a phenomena that's more widespread in Sabah than other countries, other parts of Malaysia. So imagine that you have like Iraqi schools in Malaysia, like 100 over Iraqi schools. It's a fascinating phenomena, I think, right? Yeah. You have Arab schools here, right?
Yeah, we have
Arab schools here.
Iraqi school. We have one in the KL.
In KL,
But also a Libyan school.
Libyan school.
Saudi.
Saudi, okay.
School,
They better have one.
Yeah, for the students here or some people work here.
Yes. Of course, we have Chinese schools. Chinese schools. But you have China school in China, in the embassy. Do you have that?
The embassy?
Yeah, I'm talking about the Chinese embassy. You have, you set up.
You have school in your embassy?
You know? The embassy, that
使馆，
使馆
你的使馆有没有一个特定的学校？就是
中国人的中国学生。Confucius Academy. No, I'm talking about in Malaysia.
In Malaysia,
Primary school. Maybe they have, I think. I think there are a lot of Chinese expats.
Just the how can I say?
华校. We have
but they are Malaysians.
They are Malaysian.
Malaysian citizens.
Citizens, yeah.
And perceive the traditional primary school.
True. Yes.
I think Chinese don't need.
I don't know.
No, it's good.
I'm guessing there is. I think I'm guessing.
I'm not sure. Usually.
I'm guessing there is.
Usually.
Because
because I'm from Chinese medium school.
Yeah.
SMJK, right?
Yeah.
I'm from Chinese medium school, but it's under Malaysia government.
Yeah. But we are talking about.
But we are talking about PRC, right?
Yeah. Like the Indonesian have their sekolah.
Usually they send their children here to study English, right? So they go to international school.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah. But I'm talking about the expats.
中国人来马来西亚是进中文学校，进英文学校。
International.
We also choose
international schools. Yeah. Okay.
Usually they came here for English, Chinese.
Yeah.
No, we just came in for the chance to get
Malaysian Chinese.
better university.
Yeah. But I'm thinking about the children of the expats. They also expats. A lot of Chinese expats.
But normally, if expatriates, they use
International.
international school because they don't have any issue in terms of financial.
Yeah.
But in case of Indonesian,
Yeah.
foreign workers
True.
unskilled, so they have.
True.
I think Indonesia rich expat also sent to Indonesia school.
International
Right?
schools.
But this is the case of the foreign workers. The
Yeah.
low
That's why
payment.
it's a working class,
Yeah.
middle class divide. Right?
Yeah. True.
So they don't have enough financial to go to.
To go to international school. Yeah. Even Malaysians, a lot do not have the financial support to go to international school. I mean, some of the international schools, not some, many, right? Actually more expensive than university.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, seriously, it's more expensive to go to the international school than to come to USM.
My friends from Iraq, they have family here. So the international school is very, very
Very expensive.
Yeah, they
Yes.
cannot afford.
Yeah. Because they cater for the expats children who are paid by with US dollars basically. And usually they pay the children as well. It's a capitalist thing. It's a capitalist thing. It's not out of kindness of the heart. No. It's not that. It's this. And this only.
Bucket. We are bucket good. Current.
That's true. Although there are international schools that use Malaysian curriculum, there are now. Yes.
I thought they used Australia.
No, they have that too. Yeah, my nephew, some parents came back from UK. Parents were doctors in UK, so they came back, but they want to get into Malaysian curriculum kind of thing, but it's international. Weird, right? Yeah. But schools in Malaysia are weird. We have like crazy diversity kind of thing going on, right? We even make money out of the Singaporeans because in Singapore, the locals cannot go to the international schools. They go to the national schools only.
To the national school.
There's no
Must.
They must. So where do they go to international school? Johor Bahru. They go to Johor. They cross the strait to come to Malaysia.
Maybe the curriculum is different.
Yeah?
Maybe in Singapore the curriculum is different.
But there's good curriculum. There's good curriculum, but they have international schools, but for expats, not for the locals, because they want the locals to be, have that nation building kind of thing, whatever.
This is
So not a lot, but enough for them to the international schools to be built in Johor Bahru, southern part of Malaysia, bordering Singapore. So they would send the kids over to Johor Bahru, and Johor Bahru is profiting from this. Right? Nice. Come. You can create whatever school you want. Come. What do you want? You want to become chef? Come. We teach you how to become chef. Right. So, Hanif, anyone else wants to have some? Maybe Parodi, you have some input for? No, not yet. Okay. So, Hanif, good progress because this is a very good start. Yeah, I would say a lousy start to stick to, an excellent start to begin with. Yeah, right. So this is good because you're ahead in the sense. So, and now by doing this, I can give you feedback. And then
that's why I want to present.
Yeah, good. Instead of waiting for week after next, right? So.
Yesterday I just received information that you present today. So yesterday I just started to do the slides.
In a short period. So if your thesis, you still work until you finish. Because when I modified, so last my PowerPoint, you said to me, submit the committee. I modified more than time after that. After before I sent to you, I modified something else.
Because if we wait until it's perfect, the moment of absolute certainty seldom arrives. It's like, especially a PhD or whatever writing, it's always like work in progress. Even when you finish your PhD, you still think you can still improve further, right? Yeah. So we are not for you all, my students. Don't ask for perfection, but ask for a strong thesis. You go in strong, right? For sure, you will pass. That's the kind of thing that we want. So you go in strong thesis. So when you're in Sabah, think about the centers. Whatever centers you can think of, including religious centers, right? It might be a factor. It might be religious factors, right? As in center, right? So what would be a religious institution? What would be an economic institution, right? What would be even the economic institution is not just the company. It can be some other, the recruiting agencies. That's another factor, right? The agents, the calo, right? Calo are middleman crooks, right? A lot of agents are crooks, but half of them are crooks, I think. Agents, yeah. Even the migrant workers like Ane, some of them are also informal agents. Some of them are informal agents. So they work in a company for a certain time. After a while, the boss or the employer trusts them. They say, "Okay, go ahead. Bring in your friends. For every friend that you bring in, I'll give you, 1,000 ringgit or whatever." Yeah. Yeah. So it's like informal agent, and the word of a friend is more trustworthy than the word of an agent, right? So there's that thing at work as well.
We say in social science, formal and informal relationship.
The informal,
Formal and informal.
Informal is more powerful.
Informal more powerful.
Powerful, I mean. Yeah, it's easier.
Short way. We take short way.
You can, yes. That's why companies like social media, because they're marketing through your friends, right? Okay, Hanif. So congratulations, you have moved to this level now.
Thank you, bro.
I think if you continue to move, maybe one, maybe two more research proposal, you'll be ready for the Samples Committee proposal presentation.
Tahniya.
Tahniya. Tahniya is an Arabic word, right? Arab word, right?
We say tahanina.
Huh?
Tahanina.
Tahanina. Okay. A quick question. Gotta go soon. Rajhi, what does it mean? Rajhi. There's a bank named Rajhi.
It's quite.
Yeah,
Rajhi is actually name.
Name.
Yeah, it's actually a name, or like what Mutali said, like name of tribe. But in the world, like the Rajhi means like someone like always like have like good thinking. Okay, we say like Raja. Original
mature.
word. Yeah, mature.
Raja. Okay. I think that's what Raja's name means.
Yeah.
Remember I asked you. Remember what does Raja? He said my name has meaning. My name means strong. He said Roger.
Because his name Raji.
Raji. Raja.
Yeah.
There you go. That's his name.
Yeah.
That is his name. He's been looking, so he was like disappointed that his name doesn't have any meaning.
He will come within short time.
Yeah, Raja, are you listening? Where are you, Raja? You back? He should go home.
We call him
wife.
No, we call him after. We call him mature.
Mature.
Not Raja.
So there is the what? How do you pronounce it in Arabic? Raja. Yeah. There's Raja.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Raja.
Yeah. He was saying that how could it be that his father doesn't know why the name that he gave to him? Raja. So it's Ra, Jim, Ra Alif, Jim, Ha or Ha? Ha, the strong Ha. Okay. Rajih. So Rajih. Okay.
Doctor, if you want to learn Arabic, okay, you can learn it, but after you finish, you need to change the throat.
Oh, okay. There's O and Ha, Ain.
All is in throat.
But sometimes we, the Nusantara people, Indonesian Malaysians, right, overemphasize that word, right? Like right. We overemphasize that, and when I listen to you don't even say that the way we say it. You overwork the word.
What is your name?
Hanif.
You always say in Arabic Hanif.
Hanif. There's the Ha, it's not Ha,
Yeah,
right?
Ha, yeah.
It's Ha, so it's a different H.
Hanif.
But then you also have Dal, Val, Lot, To, they're all different words. Right. They're all D to us.
Dal.
To us, it's all D. Dal, dal,
Yeah.
bot,
Yeah.
and then there's
also
paw,
double T.
double T, bot, yeah,
Pot.
paw,
Yeah.
pot, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a yeah, the Arabic word. So you gotta really work on your
You
mouth.
can pronounce in all your throat and your.
Oh yeah.
You use the machine. All the,
Also that val,
Zal.
zay,
Yeah.
it's two different words.
Yeah.
It's,
We have Zal.
it's two different
And we have
words.
Dal.
Ah,
And we have Tha.
the,
Tha.
tha,
Yeah.
zal, zay.
Yeah.
They're all
Different.
different words.
Yeah.
To us, they sound the same, right? Even untrained eye, any untrained ears, right?
Yeah.
So the and z is different,
Yeah.
right? Amazing, man. Right?
And we have Z. Z. We have Z and S. Sin and Zal.
Sin
So-
and za.
Yeah.
Sin. Of course, the sin and shin.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Sin.
Shin. Yeah. From
Yeah.
Sin, Shin.
Yeah. It's I see got. It's almost like Chinese as well. Like the ch and z and
Yeah.
po mo fo te no all that, right? Yeah. Yeah, Chinese is not easy too because we look at Z H Z C H C. They all for us we will pronounce the same way. Z
I
is
think the ancient language is more difficult.
Bahasa is simple.
Yeah.
The way you spell it, that's how you say it.
That's easy. We even repeat the words, right?
Just in case you don't hear.
My mind.
My mind.
Bahasa muda.
Come on.
Yeah.
Just repeat the words.
Bahasa Malayo is muda.
Muda. But you see,
easy.
actually Chinese is simple too because the grammar is Chinese
Yeah.
grammar is simple, not like English.
Yeah.
Or not like Arabic, right? The grammar is simple. There is no past perfect, past continuous tense. I would have been thinking about you. There's no that. There's no, Mandarin doesn't have that. Malay doesn't have that too.
In oral language, we just short.
Yeah.
Keep the grammar simple.
Yeah.
Simple as I can.
Yes. But you guys, from China, when you speak even faster and you even compress the words even more.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's just sometimes confused faster.
Yeah, so then you get to know already, listen to the vowel. Yeah. Anyways, I gotta go because I gotta.
Thank you. I will finish my.
Alright.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you for the nasi kandar.
Oh,
So I brought you to nasi kandar. You treat me a nasi kandar. Thank you so much.
Congratulations,
Okay. Alright.
Kita pindah sana Pak, di tempat student.
Tinggal sedikit lagi.
Nah ya, di tempat student.
Alright.
First of all, sorry about yesterday because yesterday I was.
Sorry. Yeah. You should not be coming. Rushing from KL to here in a short notice like that. You're in KL, right?
Yeah. We need next time. We
Sure.
need to prepare time.
Alright. Okay.
How about this?
You gotta bring it to the back. Huh?
We have to watch, right?
I'm not sure it's open now.
That's okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Put it here on the desk. It is
Eugene also Dr. Devani student.
Yeah,
Same.
we have the same director.
Oh, good. Ya, ini yang terakhir. Ini application form udah masuk semua. Masuk udah bayar. Payment.
Udah di download apa dia punya?
Ini saya cek di sini.
Udah submit, udah klik.
Belum. Cek dulu apa yang cek dulu. Saya takutnya deh.
Sudah. Is the application form, right?
Okay.
I think
The internet still on.
Okay, when you know the ESM program. Bisa mereka nanti ambil dulu. Jawabannya mau apa, Pak?
Yang mana?
Where do you get to know ESM program?
From friends. Friends.
Okay.
Oh. Okay, see you around ya.
See you around.
Friends, relative or other recommendation ya. No. Yes.
Sudah, Pak.
Sudah. Alhamdulillah ini cek sini bisa.
Sudah submit di 1 Juni. Udah. Sekarang tinggal nanti Bapak nunggu aja. Ini kan statusnya masih biru, maksudnya new.
Oh.
Nanti akan berubah warna. Nanti
Review,
akan
yeah.
ke coklat berarti in review. Berarti apa? Successful nanti dapat hijau ataupun successful with condition yang hijau ya gitu. Gitu aja. Tinggal tunggu sekarang.
Saya nanti cekinnya di mana?
Ya tinggal ini logout nanti masuk lagi.
Jadi caranya gimana caranya?
Ya ini kan logout. Setelah Bapak buka website ini.
Oh, gitu aja. Oke.
Ya gitu Pak. Oh, berarti selama ini belum wah.
Itu sebab saya datang aja ke sini.
Ya biar tahu, Pak.
Kalau saya nggak tahu. Itu gimana?
Rencananya sampai kapan, Pak, di sini?
Pulang sekarang.
Oh, hari ini balik? Jam? Soalnya?
Besok soalnya. Jadi saya kan dari KL.
Oh, dari KL.
Jadi saya ke KL dulu, besok pulang. Kalau saya nggak keburu, karena hari ini kan libur di Indonesia. Karena libur, jadi saya gunakan untuk ke sini.
Oh, iya.
Iya. Mas Andi, terima kasih banyak ya.
Sama-sama, Pak.
Jadi saya
Aman, udah tinggal tunggu
udah aman ya?
Aman.
Udah, siap.
Tinggal tunggu.